You got to wait for a gapper.
That is fair. Down the right field line. Giambi on his way to third. And they're going to wave him around. The throw misses a cutoff man. Shot into the plate. Out of the plate. Derek Jeter with one of the most unbelievable plays you will ever see by a shortstop.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Well, good morning, and a pleasant good Tuesday morning. Man, is it beautiful right here in the heart of Hamilton, Ohio. I mean, all week we had the animals lining up 2 by 2 about 4 days ago. And now sunshine, 70s, allegedly all week. Thank God. Great to get up every morning. Still wearing pants, but the shorts are on the way. I'm sure you're very pleased to know that. We welcome you to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. As you know or may not know, we come your way 10 a.m. to high noon Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, right here on Chatterbox Sports. You can find us on YouTube, the Chatterbox Sports page. You can also find us streaming on Facebook, Chatterbox Sports page as well, or in podcast form. Just search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman and you're dialed in. Well, unless some guys who are hurt get healthy, i.e. TJ Antone, Lucas Sims, we are going to see what we saw last night out of the Reds bullpen a lot this year. For the second game in a row, we saw some grit and some fire and some toughness from the offense, coming back from 2 down in the 9th inning to tie the game, then take the lead in the 10th inning. But then that gate opens. When that gate opens, it's not pretty. Derek Law serves up a home run, only pitch he threw, to Sean Murphy, and the Reds lose 5-4 in 10. Second straight outing, Graham Ashcraft. This kid looks solid now. Solid. Went 6 innings, 2 runs, struck out 7. But, look, there's good and bad with a manager here, okay? I mean, really, what's David Bell supposed to do? He brings in Reaver Sanmartin to face a left-handed batter, right? Lefty-lefty. He promptly walks him on 4 non-competitive pitches, as I like to call it. He then throws a wild pitch, which should have been blocked. It brings in a run. You don't have to bring him back the next inning. Talking about San Martin here. You don't have to bring him back, but Bell does. His splits against right-handed batters are brutal, yet he faced nothing but right-handed batters in the 8th inning and allowed a big run. Game 2 of the series is tonight. Luis Cessa faces Kyle Wright, first pitch 7:20. The Tampa Bay Rays became the first team since the '87 Brewers to open the season with 10 straight wins. They got a home run in a scoreless game in the 8th, and they beat Boston last night 1-0. That's the 3rd straight shutout the Rays have thrown. 2 against Oakland, 1 against Boston. The Major League record to begin a year is 13-0. Shared by those Brewers of '87 and the 1982 Atlanta Braves. Tampa Bay faces Boston again tonight. Fewer than 17,000 people were at that game. Tampa Bay does not deserve a Major League franchise. They just simply don't deserve it. Period. This is a city, okay, when they clinched a playoff berth last year, so you know the team's going to clinch a playoff berth. Less than 17,000 were there. The Rays have not averaged more than 20,000 fans per game since 2010. Yet they've been to the playoffs 7 times, including each of the last 4 years. Brutal ballpark. You would think a good baseball town. They're the first one, second one's on the list. Oakland, out of Oakland. Tampa Bay, out of Tampa Bay. Everybody knows it. They just don't want to say it. Rangers left-hander Andrew Heaney tied an American League record last night, fanning 9 straight batters in an 11-2 win over Kansas City. If you're wondering, The major league record is 10 in a row, shared by the great Tom Seaver, Aaron Nola, and Corbin Burns. Football news, former Arizona head coach Cliff Kingsbury is joining the coaching staff at USC under Lincoln Riley. He'll work with the quarterbacks here, and that means Caleb Williams. Kingsbury was fired after the Cardinals' 4-13 record a year ago. According to Adam Schefter at ESPN, at least 6 teams have contacted those Cardinals about a trade for the 3rd pick in the draft. A number of teams want and need a quarterback. The Cardinals don't. They have Kyler Murray, so they don't need one. So stay tuned on that. And in basketball, the NBA playoffs begin tonight. 2 play-in games. In the Eastern Conference, Atlanta goes to Miami. And in the West, Minnesota battles LeBron James and the Lakers. The winner of those 2 games tonight are automatically in the playoffs as the number 7 seed. They're in. The loser of those games tonight still has a chance to get in the playoffs when it plays the winner of the 9-10 play-in games, which are scheduled for tomorrow night. All right, coming up later in the show, Tracy Jones at 10:30, not his regular spot, at 11:30. And Paul Doherty will join us at 11. But, of course, we have started our tour around the National Football League leading up to the NFL Draft. And today we welcome in, covering the Tennessee Titans, our guest is Buck Rising, a sports talk show host right there in Nashville on the Zone. He is completely dialed in on the Titans. Are we ready for Buck Rising?
Just a minute.
Just a minute. Okay. Yep. All right. Ready for Buck Rising. We're going to get into later on, by the way, this whole Reds thing. Because, besides Lodolo and, to a lesser extent, Ashcraft went 7, first start, 6 last night. Lodolo went 5, first start, 7, second start. The other 3 guys can't get past 5, and in some cases not even that far. That is a recipe for guys in your bullpen to literally not be able to lift their arm by the middle of May. So, in fairness to the manager, I talk about San Martin from last night and facing nothing but right-handed batters, but the bullpen the day before had to cover 5 innings. It's brutal to watch. All right, let's get to football. Tennessee Titans. Buck Rising, he's getting ready to get on the air. So we only have him for a short time. You're cranking it up in less than an hour, right, Buck?
We're fired up on this Tuesday, but yeah, we got time. We got plenty of time to talk some shop here.
All right, Buck. Let's start with, I like to play the game. First of all, thank you for your time today and for joining us. I like to ask the 3 questions. Where have you been? Where are you now? Where are you going? Okay, so let's start with the Titans. We know that 2 years ago, because the Bengals played them in the playoffs down in Nashville, 2 years ago they're the number 1 seed. They had a quarterback who was very efficient. May not have played well in that game against the Bengals, but very efficient, solid quarterback, maybe not great. Got Henry in the backfield, good offensive line, solid defense, number 1 seed. Then last year, what happened last year to the Titans?
Well, to be honest with you, I think they were a bit fraudulent in 2021. And so 2022 was, I think, a closer version of what we all expected that football team to look like, despite them having gutted it out in a big spot, getting the number 1 overall seed that season, collapsing pretty dramatically against the Cincinnati Bengals. But I think ultimately the thing you have to come back to is, 1, health. They set a record in 2021. They used 91 players over the course of a season, and then did almost the same thing last year, 86. They were a mash unit, and the NFL changed the rules so you couldn't have unlimited amount of players returning from injured reserve in 22. And then, of course, they traded away A.J. Brown, which turned out to be one of the dumbest decisions in the NFL last year for a team that has struggled mightily to get the wide receiver position right. Finally found one, and then let the Philadelphia Eagles take him all the way to a Super Bowl. So a couple of different things happened to last year's Titans team, but 2021 felt like a bit of a flash in the pan. 22 just felt like the bottom fell out.
There seems to be, from the outside looking in, you tell me if this is accurate or not, because you've forgotten more about it than I'll ever know when it comes to these Titans. There seems to be friction might be the wrong word. Perhaps it's just a different vision on where the Titans are going. Maybe starting in ownership, but then you start drifting down to the general manager all the way down to the head coach and Mike Vrabel. Is that a fair statement or no?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair statement. This is Mike Vrabel's show. I know they hired a new general manager this offseason and ran Carthon, but with Mike, his presence kind of looms heavy over all of these things. Now, Amy Adams Strunk is the controlling owner here. It's been a night and day difference in the organization since she took control in that way. Bud Adams, the founder of the Tennessee Titans, the Houston Oilers, going back through his family, they had a couple of rough patches, but Amy really got the thing right. And then in letting Mike stay and firing John Robinson as the general manager, whether it was a power struggle or not, she definitely gave more power to Mike in the way that things are going to continue to be run here. And there has been a bit of tension in the last year. It's rare that you see a general manager who had, to that point, 6 consecutive winning seasons get fired in December of what was at the time a winning season. The Titans had a winning record when John Robinson was fired. And while Mike Vrabel didn't actively jockey for John Robinson to be let go, at that point, there was a general shift in that the organization was acknowledging, yeah, it's more about the personnel than it is about the coaching. And whether there was substantial tension there or not, Mike Vrabel was the one who was given the benefit of the doubt. So now they're in a different position. They're trying to reboot this thing. The 2019 AFC Championship was kind of the peak of what this Titans run was. And now that's no longer. They lost 7 straight games last year. Everybody is going to be hyper scrutinized. A lot of turnover has already happened on the roster with yet more to come, probably in future off seasons. But yeah, things have certainly been tense. And now with Mike Vrabel in as big a personnel control situation as he's ever been, it's as much scrutiny as he's ever had on him in this job, where he's had a lot of success, to be fair.
Look, I don't know if anybody around here really knows anything about it except for maybe Gene Smith, the athletic director at Ohio State, or the president at Ohio State. You know where I'm going with this here. Look, I'm an Ohio State fan, but I'll be the first to admit that the 2 most obnoxious groups of fans in the country are Ohio State football and Kentucky basketball. They think they should win every game and never lose a game and win championships every year.
You must have seen my IU diploma behind me if you're throwing.
Well, my
Kentucky
son's going to IU starting next year, so he was just there yesterday. We love the Hoosiers around here. So let me ask you this. Was there any legitimate fear when that story started to sneak out there last year that Vrabel might consider, if the opportunity presented itself, to go back to his alma mater as head coach?
Oh, sure. I mean, they could double his salary. Like, the NFL does not have the resources that college football does, which may seem counterintuitive to a lot of sports fans, but I mean, that's the facts. Like, Ohio State could very easily double his salary and give him the kind of full control that we know that coaches love, right? I mean, these are inherently control freaks, and that's fine. They need to be in their positions. And Mike, in a different environment, would succeed at a very, very high level at his alma mater or any college football program that chose to try and bring him in. Now, how realistic that is for Mike, I don't think that it would have to be a very, very unpleasant ending here in Tennessee to send him from the pros to college. I think he wants to win a Super Bowl as badly as a coach as he did getting 3 rings as a player. I think it means a great deal to him, even as he loves Ohio State. So, yeah, absolutely real in terms of the threat there for Titans fans. But I think for Vrabel, he's going to try and see this thing through as much as humanly possible. And then if the escape cord needs to be pulled or whatever, if things go really badly here in Tennessee, you could do a lot worse than Ohio State, given that Ryan Day was getting a lot of heat with the way that things finished for them this season. But right now, it looks like they still have a lot of things to figure out as far as their NIL operations. It would have to be a much higher functioning outfit in this modern day of college athletics, I think, to really be an attractive proposition for Mike Vrabel to just up and leave of his own volition.
Yeah, I think Day was taking a lot of heat. He certainly bounced back with the way they played Georgia in that semifinal game, but that's not what we're talking about here. Okay, where the Titans are now. If I hear you right, Buck, do you believe even in a division, which is there's not a juggernaut sitting around there in that division? Tennessee has been the juggernaut of that division by and large. Jacksonville certainly was better last year and got to the playoffs, and they've got some players, but I don't know if anybody's quite sold on them, joining the ranks of the Chiefs and the Bills and the Bengals and that kind of thing quite yet. Are you looking at this for Tennessee this year as a rebuild year?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they still have the quarterback. They still have Derrick Henry. But this is a rebuilding football team. You can't lose 7 straight games and blow up a lot of your veteran contracts the way that they needed to free up cap space, just to kind of get themselves back in a state that's functioning, and not consider it to be a rebuild. You can call it retool, remodel, whatever. There's a bunch of different R words you can use for what the Titans need to go through right now. But this is a competitive rebuild as any that you will find in the NFL. Like I think last year was the anomaly. I really do. Seven straight games for a Mike Vrabel team to fall completely flat that way after going to Green Bay and slapping around the Packers. Even as Aaron Rodgers might have been in a lesser state at 7-3 at the time, and then going on to not win a single game since November 17th. That's not the norm around here, and I do believe that Mike gets the best possible effort and finish out of the guys that he brings in, even if he's finding them off the street. They've had a lot of practice with that in the last 2 years. But this is a roster that needs to get right, needs to get more competitive, needs to get more talent, because they were already pretty talent thin, and then they did the stupid thing, which was to give away A.J. Brown. So now it's forced a harder kind of rebuild in ways that they kind of already went through last year, but this offseason I think is really indicative, where they're not spending a lot of money. They're not shelling out a lot of free agent dollars, but they're spreading that across a lot of different bodies, because they just need dudes who can come in here and try and put together a competent football team, because they have not been that for quite some time.
Well, there was a little bit of talk there for a while about Tannehill not coming back, right?
Not here. I know that was a logical conclusion for people to draw when you look at his contract situation and some of the quarterback options that might be out there, but that's not ever been anything that we've heard locally, either that they've put out or around the organization. They've been pretty steadfast in the Tannehill thing. Now, you can take that for what it will. People say all kinds of things at the combine that don't matter, and in the following weeks, Senior Bowl and stuff like that. But they've been very committed, both publicly and privately, to Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback for at least this coming season.
Okay. They have 2 first-round draft picks. Correct me if I'm wrong here.
Just the one at 11 overall.
Oh, at number 1. Okay, all right. Then I misread that earlier. Okay, so where are they going, you think? Where would they like to go? Where do they need to go in the draft with that 11th pick?
To be honest, they need to go quarterback. He doesn't need to start right away. They don't need to have C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, 2 of the, I think, players who we're looking at as likely day one starters in the league. But if Anthony Richardson is at all a possibility for them, it makes a ton of sense. Tannehill's got 1 year on his contract. They tried it with Malik Willis last year. It didn't work. I think personally, you would rather see them go best player overall in the first round and then address the rest of the needs that they have throughout the next 2 days of the draft. Quarterback makes a ton of sense for a football team that needs to clear cap, is going to have their starter off the books and Derrick Henry off the books unless they extend him to bring down his cap hit in 2024. And Rand Carthon, as a general manager, needs to get that position right. More than anything, there are going to be options available for them to do that in this draft. Whether they're surefire or not, it's an imperfect science. But first-round quarterback makes a lot of sense for this particular football team.
All right, well, the report came out last night that there were 6 teams that are having conversations, according to Adam Schefter at ESPN, that 6 teams had reached out to the Arizona Cardinals about that number 3 pick in the draft. Do you think the Titans are one of those 6, if you were a betting man?
Oh, I don't have to bet. I know. They were sniffing around Arizona's pick. Monty Ossenfort used to work in the front office here. He's their new GM. And they had been exploring options in a couple of different ways, not just third overall with Arizona, but they had definitely been involved in pursuing that, not necessarily pursuing the trade, but looking into that as an option. So, yeah, definitely one of the teams that's explored that possibility.
All right. Last thing I want to ask you about here is you brought up Derrick Henry in the last year of his deal. Okay, this guy has been a phenomenal player. There's no doubt about it. And look, running backs, obviously you got to have an offensive line to create the room for them to run, and they've done that in his whole career at Tennessee. They've been a great running football team. Now, last year, there were games he was great, games not so great. I don't know how much of that is on him or not. And then the debate about running backs losing a step the older they get. How do you think they look at Henry at this point in time?
He's still a focal point of the offense. As long as he's on the roster, that's what Derrick is going to be. That's central to Mike Vrabel's core beliefs of how you win football games. Outrush the opponent, win the turnover battle, and have a higher QBR at the end of the game. Those are the three things that Mike walks into every team meeting, regardless of opponent, preaching. And those are the objectives that they set out beyond what they're going to do to prepare for that individual opponent. And Derrick's a big part of that. Now, losing a step is something you always start to look at with Derrick, but he did get caught from behind a few more times than we're used to seeing. Last season, coming off the broken foot looks fine. I think Derrick's still capable of being a highly productive NFL player. They have to get him a better support system, though. They have no wide receiver help without AJ. Traylon Burks, who they did get in the first round last year, spent a lot of time on the injury report. They need to get more consistency out of him. They have to keep teams from just outright loading the box against Derrick, because one of the worst offensive lines in football last year. Like they were god awful in front of Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill in 2022. They've blown that unit up. Four of the five starters have already moved on to different spots, either by release or in free agency, and there's still some shuffling parts that they're working through right now. But they have to get better skill positions around him to get defenders out of the box. They have to get a better offensive line in front of him. For both of the sake of Tannehill and Henry, because I honestly think I think they would do well to keep him around for a year beyond this one. I think Derrick's totally capable. 1,500 yards is one of his highest single-season outputs, and he did it on a terrible football team. I think that he's still got at least two more great seasons in him, but he's more dependent on what's around him than I think he's ever been before.
I got you. All right, Buck, we'll let you go. We know you got your show. We certainly appreciate your time today and bringing us up to date on the Titans. And all the best, my friend. Hopefully we'll catch up sometime after the draft and down the road. Thank you again.
Pleasure was mine. You have my contact information. Hit me up anytime.
All right. Thank you so much. Buck Rising down in Nashville, Tennessee. Nash Vegas. You ever run the streets down there in Nash Vegas a little bit, fellas?
I went down there last summer. It was a lot of fun. It was the first time I'd been there since I was over 21, so I got the whole experience. It was good. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Casey?
I'm more of a Gatlinburg type of guy.
Ooh.
Big League Town, Gatlinburg.
Tom.
Big League Town.
Usually
a little touristy. It's got some, But, man, when you step foot into the Smoky Mountains there and get in the park, start walking around,
yeah,
that is one of my favorite places in the world. That is a majestic place. People talk about the Rockies all the time, and they should. But, man, you get in the Smokies and the Blue Ridge Mountains and that whole string. Wow. What were you getting ready to say? Something to be a smart ass, no doubt about it. What were you getting ready to say?
No, not at all.
I could tell by the tone.
No, you usually we recap an interview, but you just kind of dropped in the middle of the interview.
Well, I mean, you're Nash Vegas here. You got to address Nash Vegas.
No, Luke's going to Indiana.
Indiana. We learned about it on the internet. Marymount High School puts out this thing where all their kids are going. They're seniors, right? My wife's out of town. I'm at home. Now, look, I know the whole process, where he's applied, where he got in, where he got waitlisted, all that kind of stuff. And then we walked through the drill, because he wants to get into broadcasting as well. We walked through the whole drill, talking to the deans in the schools of communication from 4 or 5 different schools to find out, like you and I've talked before. I say this on a serious note, because my biggest issue with a lot of these colleges and universities, as I've said this on the show before, is for kids that want to get into broadcasting. And broadcasting is a little bit different than getting into marketing or accounting or something like that. You've got to get reps and find out, A, if you like it, B, are you any good at it, right? And if you don't get that opportunity from a university as a broadcasting student until your sophomore, junior year maybe, right? And then you find out you don't like it or you're not any good at it, you've either taken student loans for 2 years that are sitting on your back for nothing, or your mom and dad, if you're blessed enough, fortunate enough to have that, they've paid for something that now you don't want to do, right? So where are you going to get a chance to do stuff right out of the gate? Indiana's that spot. They are running a big league operation up there. So the Hoosiers. The bad news for Luke, as I told him last night, when I went outside and hung out the Indiana Hoosier Nation flag out front in our house, right? I was digging a little internet, checking out the Indiana football team, right? Mm-hmm. Both of their starting cornerbacks from last year, apparently are going to the NFL. They're going to get drafted. Pretty good players. So they have 2 brand new starters that will play cornerback. Guess who their season opener is against? The best wide receiving corps in the United States of America. The Ohio State University Buckeyes.
What a tough test.
I said, Luke, it's not going to be pretty. Buckeyes roll into town his very first game as a college student. How big league is that?
That's their first home game?
It's the first game, period, season opener.
Golly.
At IU. In comes Marvin Harrison Jr.
He'll be broadcasting that game.
What's that?
He'll be broadcasting
Yeah, right,
that
I'm
game.
sure. No, but we're very, very excited. We're very grateful. We're very thankful. We're looking forward to it. Hopefully everything goes well.
Cool.
So,
congratulations.
Thank you. We got Tracy Jones coming up here in a minute. Anything on your mind with Tracer, Case? It's kind of been a while. We're really getting close now to the big day.
I'm glad you brought that up because last night I was sitting there thinking we were texting back and forth about topics, what we wanted to do on the show today, who we were bringing on and everything. Right. And I was thinking, there was a point where we had talked with Tracy a lot about the wedding. We got his thoughts, and we pretty much covered all the bases. We haven't really talked to him in a while about it, and we're less than 2 months away.
I know. We're
50 days.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So I think it's time to maybe revisit things a little bit and just check in and make sure everything's going all right.
Let's just save this
for Tracy.
Save this for
Save it for
Tracy.
Tracy.
He'll be here in a minute. I tell you what, we've got one of the sharpest dudes in the world out there. Whoever B. Shelby is, I give it up to the guy. He's in our chat today.
Uh-oh.
He's bringing it up. Boy, there's a drive by Castellanos. Boy, I tell you, B. Shelby, you have brought your A game and creativity today. There is no doubt about it. I mean to tell you, you could be running the marketing for Bud Light right now with such great ideas. How'd you like that tie-in? You like that a little bit? Really, really good. A lot of people are fired up about this whole David Bell thing and some of the comments that I've made and about the Reds and the Bulls. We're going to get into all this a little bit later, I promise. Okay? I was being fair there in the open. I made the statement that guys are going to be leaking oil by May, that they had covered 5 innings in the bullpen on Sunday against Philadelphia. I brought all that up. So, look, manager's got to make decisions on what he's got and who he can use. We have fallen into the trap, however, in Major League Baseball, where we don't use relievers anymore for 3 days in a row. I'm not talking about running a guy out there for 2 innings, 3 innings. I'm not talking about that. But, Jeff Brantley talks about it all the time. He loved pitching 3 days. In fact, he thought he was better on the second day or the third day. Little extra sink, little fatigue, things like that. A little better focus because you're a little bit tired. Tracy Jones can address this. Tracy, we're sitting here. Good morning, by the way. I hope you had a wonderful Easter. You look quite tan from being out in Southern California. What's it like to be back in the Commonwealth? Because you've spent so much, I mean, Lord knows, so much time in Southern California that I can only imagine what has rubbed off on you before you came back to Kentucky.
Let me tell you something, okay?
Yeah.
First of all, I flew all I'm so tired. So if something comes out of my mouth, I apologize. I flew all night. I have not slept. The things I do for you people is incredible. I mean, do you know what it's like? Thom, let me give you a visual. So okay. I'm sitting there in first class. I'm thinking, I had my 2 Grey Goose and tonics. I'm sitting there in first class. I'm going to go to sleep. I fall asleep. And what do I have? Some J.O. from Coach that comes up and bumps me and wakes me up. First of all, people, when that curtain comes down in first class, you don't come to the first class cabin. That's not your bathroom. I was disturbed. I have not slept at all, so I apologize if I say something or do something.
I tell you, the red eyes are tough. I mean, I've taken
really tough.
Hundreds. All right. Well, I mean, it might be 100. I can't even count them through the years, and they're brutal on your body. If you can't, and I couldn't do it. I mean, I guess you said you were starting to fall asleep. I just couldn't fall asleep on it.
Well, I fell asleep again, and then the guy next to me, who has the bladder the size of a thimble, he has to get up every 5 minutes, it seems like, to go to the bathroom.
All right, but let me ask you this. Let me interrupt you. Let me ask you this, because I'm one of those guys who has a bladder the size of a thimble, okay? I like sitting on the aisle. In first class, you don't have the 3 in a row. You've just got 2 up front, right? Okay.
Right.
But what would have happened if he would have said to you when you got on the plane, said, hey, look, man, you might want to go to sleep. I have a bladder the size of a thimble. Would you mind taking the window seat and let me have the aisle? What would have been your reaction to that?
I would have told him to mind his own business and sit in his seat, keep his mouth shut. I probably would have switched with him. I've got to know that. It's kind of like going in and I know that I'm going to get the French toast instead of the quiche, right? It's like those are the things I should know before I sit in my seat. It was just a miserable flight, and I'm so tired. I've got 3 doctor appointments today. My dentist, I'm getting my heart checked, and I'm getting my arteries in my neck checked. So I've got a really, really busy day, and I'm doing it on 0 sleep.
What does that mean, you're getting your arteries checked in your neck? I mean, I've heard of people getting their heart checked and certainly going to the dentist. What does that mean?
You know what? My very good friend, and Thom, I know you know him, Jim Lewis, is my best friend without a doubt. And we're just into this whole health thing and making sure that everything's checked. And it's one of those tests that they don't actually provide at your doctor's office, but you can ask for it.
Okay.
And it's one of those precautionary type of, remember, my 2 goals are to have FU money and to live to be 100, right? So that's part of my living to be 100 is I want everything checked. I just had my blood panels gone over for the 2nd time in 6 months, and now I'm gonna get my arteries and my heart checked. And I think it's something that people should do. It's a test that's only $99, so I think it's worth it. If there's blockage, they'll find it. And I think the rating as far as the blockage goes from 0 to 1,000. So if you have 1,000, you have an issue. You need to get heart surgery right away. But we'll see what happens.
It's interesting you bring that up because I have a guy that lives down the street from me who is, just to look at him, is the model of great health, right?
Right.
I mean, this guy, his name's Terry Howe. He's a lifelong Cincinnati guy, great guy. Big, athletic, works out, whole 9 yards. About 3 years ago, all of a sudden I don't see him around much, and I see his wife, and I'm like, where's Terry? She's like, he went in opened him completely up,
right.
And, heart surgery, right? And I was
right.
like, wow, what happened? Said, well, he went in for his regular physical, didn't do a test kind of like what you're talking about.
Yes.
And she explains to me this test you can talk. It's some kind of calcium test for your heart.
That's what I'm getting. That's
Okay.
exactly
So
what I'm getting.
it's interesting you bring that up because fast forward about 2 months later, I'm down visiting a friend of mine in Florida. Guy lives across the street from him in his 70s, retired guy, and he feels like he's having some heart things. So I say to him, I said, look, I don't know anything about anything. I said, except for this is what happened to my neighbor. So when you go up to your doctor in Sarasota, bring this up to him. It might be worth exploring. Turns out it saved his life. So you sharing this is great stuff, and we appreciate it. All right, now I want to get into you with some of this red stuff, okay? Look, from an offensive standpoint, by and large, okay, they have played well enough to have a better record than 4-5, and they've shown a lot of grit and a lot of toughness. To come back the way they did against Philadelphia 2 days ago, the way they came back last night to tie the game and then take the lead before losing the game. For a team, okay, and this was one of the questions I brought up months ago, okay? And we've talked about creating a winning culture even all the way down in the minor leagues, which you played on some incredible minor league teams with some incredible minor league talent, right? Yep. And that wave came all the way up through the big league club. The core of that group that you came up with won a World Series in 1990.
Yep.
What does it do to a team, Tracy, when it starts to happen over and over, where the bullpen starts to just, give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up? Let's start with what that does to position players. Does it do anything in the clubhouse?
That's a great question. And this was actually an issue with the Reds going back, I want to say, like 3 or 4 years ago. Remember, they were a pretty decent team.
Yep.
And then you turned it over to the bullpen, and it just exploded. And maybe that's what we're looking at again. The number one, if I was a general manager and I had to build a team, of course, we're talking about the starters, the 1, 2, 3 guys. But that bullpen, Tom, we've talked about it before, nothing more important, because all that starter has to do is go 5 innings, and then you turn it over to the bullpen, and it's lights out, right? You're in good hands. As a position ball player, I played with the Tigers in 1990, and we lost 101 ball games, and our bullpen was pitiful. And as an outfitter, I'd just sit there, and I would actually get nervous. Not nervous, but I'd have to be on my game. You know what a great outfielder I was, Tom, right?
Yep.
I could play right, center, left, great arm.
Well, you're an athlete. You were an athlete.
Well, I was an athlete.
Yeah.
I was a greyhound.
Yeah.
But I actually had to be a greyhound because I was doing a lot of running to those gaps. And it was like, oh, jeez, where's this one going? The guy at the plate, let's say it's Ricky Henderson. Ricky's not thinking about going up taco. He's thinking about pulling it over my head.
Right.
And it's like, here we go. And it's really a problem when they turn over the bullpen and the bullpen doesn't shut it down, because so many bullpens are really, really good nowadays. It's a big, big part of a team.
All right, but here's the thing that I maintain. The analytics crowd out there, says you can't judge a pitcher by wins and losses. Okay, and I'll listen to their arguments, and that's fine. But give me the guy who's able to pitch 7 innings, give up 2 or 3 runs. That's a pitcher who, more times than not, even with a shaky bullpen, is going to win a lot more games, okay, than getting no decisions and losses. There's no question about that. Here's, though, what is not measured. And again, I'm not patting myself on the back here. I'm just saying that no one likes to have an L next to their name, okay? Nobody likes having the L next to their name.
Ask Casey about that. The L standing for loser. Go ahead, Tom. Sorry, I interrupted.
That wasn't nice.
I know that
wasn't nice. Okay, so and what I'm getting at is this. Okay, those pitchers young pitchers in Green, Lodolo, Ashcraft, and we all agree they have a chance to be special guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they all look like they have a chance to be really good, Lord willing, good health. But, man, when you're going out there, and look, the Reds have played well offensively. It's still, at the end of the day, not a good offensive team. When you're going to have a hard time scoring runs or guys that come behind you, maybe you don't get the L, but you're getting a no decision instead of wins. For starting pitchers, they care about getting wins, okay? Because ultimately that's how they get paid oftentimes, right? At least it's part of it. I just feel like, it's great to have these young guys in the starting rotation, but what is this doing to them mentally?
You bring up getting wins and getting, having the L. That's a big deal. I mean, think about it. You're busting your ass for 6, 7 innings. And you see the manager, you see David Bell walk out, and you're thinking, I don't want to come out of this game. I might be gassed. I might be tired. But I'll tell you what, I'll do a lot better job finishing this game than that guy in the bullpen. And it's really got to be tough for those guys. Thom, it is about wins and losses. It is about that record. And it's got to be extremely frustrated. Remember, guys, I'd rather go 4 for 4 and lose than go 0 for 4 and win. And this is an example of that, right? Those guys, it's not.
You don't mean that. Come on.
Oh, absolutely. And I hope there's a bunch of kids watching this show right now. That's exactly what I meant. I didn't stutter, Thom.
Casey, he just brought your name up.
Caught a stray, Casey.
And I mean, that came out of nowhere, right? That's like that guy in New York that should have been in jail for years, who just walked up to that dude standing on the corner on the street in New York and just starts, knocks him into unconscious, and the guy goes in a coma out of nowhere for no reason. I mean, what you just did was almost the equivalent word-wise to Casey. You dropped an L on him out of left field for no reason. Why?
Yeah, that's what I refer to as a cheap shot. Let me tell you how I work, Casey. If I don't like you, then I don't kid with you, right? That means that I like you. It's kind of an endearing type of thing. You never hear me talk to Paulie, do you? That's because I don't like him. He's a Xavier guy. He's kind of
he's an East Coast liberal elite.
Right.
He's one of those private school guys, one of those guys, and both high school and college. Not like guys like you and me, Tracer. Public school guys.
Hey, listen, I need to clarify something. When I told you guys I was cleaning toilets, right?
Yes, out in California,
that,
right.
Okay, those were not new toilets, guys. Those were from the reuse center that were actually... We're trying to save money with this $2.7 million home.
So we're trying to save. Wait a minute, is this a joke? They're building a $2.7 million home, and they're going to get used toilets for the house? Is that like a California thing or what?
Kind of. I think it is. It's so goofy, right? I mean, but that's to save money, and I'm all about saving money. But I was cleaning used toilets. I cleaned 5 of them. This is why I'm sunburned and red and tired. I cleaned the garage. I cleaned out the pool that was a cesspool. I drained it, everything, scrubbed it down. This manual labor, Thom, I don't know. I know you've never experienced manual labor.
Yes, I have.
But, man, it's tough. I'll tell you what, I started to get little calluses on my hands. And I actually wore gloves. But I really, really worked hard. I could never work a 9-to-5 job. That's what I'm saying.
You mean a 9-to-5 job with your hands, right? Manual labor.
No, I couldn't work a 9-to-5 job, period. I'm good for about an hour a day. Then after that, I have to eat lunch, take a nap, count my money. That's what I do.
We're getting very, very close, and we were talking about this before you came on, Tracer, because it feels like it's been a while since Casey, have you updated? We're now down to a month and a half,
Yeah.
I mean, we're knocking on the door here of your wedding day, right?
Yeah, it's 50 days, little more than 50 days and counting. So we're getting down to the final stretch here.
All right, is there anything you would like to talk with Tracy about that now is starting to become an issue or something on the radar, any of that kind of thing?
Well, I think the biggest issue right now is just getting everyone to RSVP, but they've got plenty of time to do that. And then, I mean, we're pretty much set and ready to go. We've really just got right down to it, got all the stuff taken care of. We're just adding little minor details, little extra decorations to the wedding and whatnot. But everything else is pretty much taken care of. I mean,
yeah. Casey, I know I will RSVP. The 17th is the deadline, right?
Yes.
See, I actually have it right here. I think that's you, right?
Yeah, that's me.
Girl?
Yeah, it's me and Alex.
All right. Here's a couple things just now, the prenuptial agreement.
Pretty impressive, Tracer, you had that. Pretty impressive you had that. I got to say.
That good?
Pretty impressive. Go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt.
It's all about detail. Your fiance, very attractive. But have you put in that weight clause that I talked in the prenuptial agreement to make sure that she hops on that scale? It doesn't have to be monthly, weekly, or monthly. We could do it quarterly to make sure that she stays in good shape. Casey, it doesn't apply to you because you're in really good shape, what I've seen. So have you done that yet?
No. In fact, I think she would rather it be that I have the weight clause in the prenuptial agreement. And she's the moneymaker too, so sometimes she gets to make some of the rules, wear the pants in the relationship. But there's nothing wrong with that, right?
No, there's nothing wrong with that. My wife is retiring December 4th.
Wow.
And I am so excited because we are going to jump from being in this country 3% of the wealthiest to 1%. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Thom, and I'll tell you off the air, I knew she was going to retire with a lot of money, but I didn't think it was going to be like this. I cannot wait to divorce her after she starts receiving her pension payment. It's going to be great. I'll take you guys all out to the brass ass. Everything on me. Warm beers on me. We'll get the 29 with mayonnaise dance that the girls like to perform. We'll have a hell of a time. My wife is going to be, we are going to be rich. And I'm very excited. But on a serious note, I'm very proud of her. She started out at 17 delivering mail and grinding it out. And Howard Hughes provided a pension that is unheard of. It's matching, it doubles, it compounds. And for 35 years, she's worked at this company, and they've treated her extremely well. And I'm excited for her that she gets to retire. Now, here's the catch, Thom. She's retiring with this pension that is unbelievable. But I have told her that she is going to work part-time because of benefits, and she's going to collect half her paycheck, but she is not retiring. She is not going to ruin my day by telling me, what are you doing today, Tracy? I don't give a rat's ass what Tracy Jones is doing today. Worry about yourself. So she'll still be working. I said work another 5 years. She says, you want me to work another 5 years? I said yes. So she's going to work part-time for another 5 years.
So she's really not retiring. She's just retiring because you have forced her into this decision. She is basically going from a full-time job to a part-time job just to keep the benefits. I'm assuming the health benefits, all that kind of thing, right?
Very important, right?
No doubt
that's
about it.
like, I'm not going to pay for that. That would be like I think about $1,400 a month.
Oh, it's more than that because
Plus
I had
the
to pay for mine after I lost my job. So I'm paying for mine now. It's a lot more than that.
Right, but that's a family. I already have mine with Major League Baseball. Remember, I'm set. I live the life of Riley, okay? I don't worry about that. I'm just talking about her. I'm talking about a single person is probably about $1,300 with a $7,000.
Yeah. You're right. Right? You're right. All right, Casey. Anything else you want to bring up with the Tracy? Yeah, please continue.
Yeah. So since you brought up the brass ass, the bachelor.
Oh
party,
boy! Wow, that came out of left field.
Wow!
All right, go ahead. Let her rip. Here we go.
Speaking of a strip club,
we are planning on doing pub golf. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. You know what that is?
Yeah. I'm not going.
We're going to go probably around the OTR, pub golf, go to the Hard Rock, and then
can I back up?
Yeah.
Okay, I've heard of pub. Did you say golf?
Yes.
All right, I've heard of pub crawls. Been doing that forever, right? Solid 50 years.
It's
As
the
a
same.
59-year-old, I started at 9.
I'm pretty sure it's the same.
But
thing.
what is pub golf?
Well, it's like you bar hop, but you have it's just like golf for a pub though. And you have a group and you're supposed to hit or drink a certain amount of drinks and hit under a certain amount of, like, you have to drink in one gulp or like one sip a certain amount of beers.
You got par on a beer.
Yeah, you got par on beer.
It's a par 4 for a 24 ounce
of beer.
Michelob Ultra.
And everyone's got to do
Miller
it
High
in your group. Does that make sense?
No, it makes no sense. I'm asking you, where does the golf? I mean, so if you're going into a bar, is there like one bar you got to drink like 3 because it's the equivalent of a par 3, and then you walk in? I mean, you're not doing it that way because you wouldn't be able to stand up after the 3rd hole.
No.
But I'm saying, what do you do there? I don't get the golf tie-in.
It's like you take one like tall draft beer, right? Mm-hmm. And you got to finish it within 3 chugs or 1 chug or whatever, and that would be your par or whatever. And then you go to the next bar, and maybe it's.
Do you know anybody that can drink a glass of draft beer in 1 gulp?
Yes.
Well, I guess you never would have to do 1 gulp. You'd have to do it in 3.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
On a par 3.
Yeah.
Or a par 4 or 4. 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
got you. Okay, now I'm getting it.
But there's also like other challenges like shots, how many shots that you can take at certain spots. And you progressively get more challenging.
Whoa. Do you think that's – wait a minute. Hold on. Do you think that's a really good idea with Tom's drinking problem that he has? Do you think that's
I
good?
just got through, thank God, Lent. And I was in some positions where it would have been right up my alley to have a cold cocktail or 2.
Well, the thing is, if you're in a group, right, if you do it in a group, we don't necessarily have to all do it. We can just have one person do this hole, and then you score it that way. So then you don't get super wasted. But we haven't really decided on that yet. We haven't decided if everyone's doing the challenge at the bar or if it's based on teams. But anyway.
Is Paulie going? Is Paulie going?
Paul's not old enough to drink yet, I don't think.
I'm going if you're going, Tracy.
Well, I'm not going if you're going because I'm not going to be associated with a bunch of dorks.
I knew that answer was coming, so that's why I'll leave the ball in your court, Tracy.
I'll be there, boys. I'll be there.
All right.
I'm a lot of fun.
You have any dates on this yet, Casey, or what? Because some of our friends here on the chat, they might want to just meet you and have a celebratory, congratulatory beer at one of the stops along the way, or maybe you'd rather just keep it to a small group. Tracy might have a problem there if you start opening it up to others.
Well, we haven't set a date yet, and after the beer hopping, we're going to go to the casino at the Hard Rock, which I know Tracy probably doesn't like that much because
risking
money. But then after that, brass ass.
Whoa!
Maybe. I don't know.
That
sounds like a big league night.
You know what? You don't want to be out in Covington late at night. A lot of things go down in Covington after midnight. After midnight gets a. You know what? The whole thing with drinking, and Tom, I don't know if you would agree with or disagree with this, but I really judge people when they drink because their true personality comes out. Like, you know how I'm a jerk on this show, right? Because I'm sober and drinking coffee. If you get me out drinking, I'm very pleasant. I'm a very nice guy. I'm one of those guys that give you hugs. I give you kisses. I'm one of those guys. Warm
Beautiful.
and fuzzy guys.
Beautiful.
But I don't like the guy that gets all muscly.
Yeah, wants to
starts
fight.
Talking about himself. Starts
Right.
bragging about himself. How much money he has. That he plays with for 5 major league teams. I don't like those guys. I like the guy that is nice and friendly. And I tell you what. When I'm out and I start drinking, I pay for all the tabs too. So you want to make sure that I'm on that whatever thing you're doing there, Case.
Well, everyone in the office, and you included, Tracy, are invited to come.
All right. Well, I can't wait.
I know it's going to be after. It's going to be in May, sometime in May, after we're done with the softball, baseball stuff with Miami, because as of right now, we're focused in on that for the weekends and whatnot. But after that, sometime in May,
Beautiful.
we'll be doing that.
All right, Tracy, we'll let you run. We know you have doctor's appointments and all that kind of thing going on today. Dentist appointments, 3 different. All the best. Godspeed on all of those visits today, and we'll catch you day after tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, boys. Have a good week.
You too. Tracy Jones will join us again on Thursday. I think he'll still join us on Thursday. He said have a good week. Maybe he forgot about Thursday already. All right, Ham and Eggers, take it away before we get to Doc. Talked about bladder size of a, what did he say? What did he say? What did he call it? Whatever. I don't know. Take it away, boys. Ham and Eggers, Mr. President. Take it away.
Time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great. Trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
Well, the Tracy Jones Report. Hold on. There we go. Tracy Jones Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and
productivity.
Right on your game today, Casey. Visit encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. There's also, right here in front of me, got a new bottle this morning, a new premium alkaline water out that is Pawnee, and it's made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. Pawnee uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that many other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water that is also the best tasting water in the world. Visit their website at pawneewater.com. That is P-A-H-H-N-I water.com. P-A-H-H-N-I water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water. Get your coffee from UDF, bet with Betfred, drink Pawnee water, and get your technology solutions from encore.tech. Casey, I got to tell you, I am I'm battling through an injury.
An injury?
And I don't know how I sustained it. There are going to be some jokes in the chat when I say I don't know how I got this injury. I don't know. I was driving in this morning, and I don't know if I bit my tongue or what happened, but it feels like the right side of my mouth got shot up with Novocaine, and I'm just, like, talking with a lisp. Every time I touch the whole right side of my tongue, the whole right half of my tongue, feels like it's just got cut off.
You must have bit it in your sleep.
I don't know. I must have bit it in my sleep or something because, man, it hurts like crazy. We're battling through. We are hurt and injured this morning, but it's okay. It's all right. Casey, anything on your mind?
You know, I don't know if we're going to continue talking about the Reds at all, but
we will. After Doc, we're going to get into the NBA postseason, and we're going to get into the Reds.
So I was just sad because they deserve to win that game. In my opinion, they've been so close to winning these games, and it's just like I feel like this is worse than just straight up losing because you you're losing. Like it's just like you expect it. But when you have that last bit of chance of like that little hope towards the end that you could pull this out and win a game against a good team or win the series or whatever, and it just slips through your hands. I mean, the Reds are better than 4 and 5, and we've already said that before. But it's just like, man, a lot of people that were already down on the Reds are just like, oh, same old Reds. I'm like, it's not really, though, because at least last year it was just them getting blown out time and time again.
The Reds have had they've either been tied or had the lead in every game so far this year. Goes to talk about the bullpen.
But here's the thing, okay, and we're going to get into this later. The offense has outperformed what everybody knows they are. You know, that's the whole thing about baseball. You will go through stretches, and every team does it. I don't care who it is. The best teams, Atlanta, San Diego, Dodgers, whoever you want to pick, right? You're going to go through stretches where you as a team, you hit. And then individual players will have their different streaks, right? The Reds have performed better offensively through the first 9 games than they are going to perform this year. You can take it to the bank. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to bring up some younger player. And look, even a guy like Barrero, all of a sudden, you know, everybody wanted to throw him out and bring up McLean, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, now all of a sudden, you know, what do you have, 3 hits last night?
Yeah.
Now, it's only 1 game. But, you know, you just can't rush to make conclusions about players when you're talking about guys that don't even have 800 or 900 major league at-bats. I mean, they're facing the very best pitchers in the world for the first time. And when that bullpen gate opens most nights for other teams, they are bringing in guys one after. It's very rare. Look, pick a guy like Barrero. Let's just pick him since I brought up his name. Okay? He's going to see a starting pitcher in a game, which most of these guys he's seeing for the first time. Not all of them, because he saw a few last year. So he'll face a starter for 2 at-bats. Because starting pitchers aren't going more than 5-6 innings by and large in most games. Okay, well, now his 3rd at-bat, here comes a guy throwing 98 out of the bullpen. His 4th at-bat, here comes another guy throwing 100 out of the bullpen. Okay? With sliders and change-ups. And it is not easy, man. It's the hardest thing to do in sports. So, but the Reds as a team, on offensive standpoint, they have outperformed what the back of their bubblegum cards would say. Small sample size for most, albeit. They have outperformed what the card says through 9 games. That's not going to continue. You can make the argument conversely that Hunter Green is going to be better than he was his first 2 starts because he's not been good. He's had moments and flashes, but, I mean, he's pitching like a young man, pitching in the big leagues from opening day for the first time ever. That's what he's pitching like. He'll have an inning where he pitches, you know, first inning. Boom, 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 1, 2, 3, 11 pitches. Second inning, 30 pitches. Can't get out of his own way. Pitch clock violations, all this kind of thing. Lodolo and Ashcraft are not going to go 6-7 innings every game. They're just not. They both have had excellent starts, 2 of them each, to begin the year. But that bullpen, you know, like I said, TJ Antone comes back, if he comes back. And Lucas Sims will change the face of that bullpen overnight because those 2 guys have great stuff. Those are legitimate, big-time Major League relievers.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Antone especially. That guy breaks my heart, what's happened to him. I really don't know. Look, I don't have any inside information, but it just seems like every time he's ready to come back, something happens, right? And that's a guy who I think could have been a better starting pitcher than any of the guys they have in that starting rotation right now. His stuff is that good. They don't even have him on the roster. All right. We have, let's see here. Trace Fowler informs us that he admires Antone for coming back. True. 2 Tommy John surgeries, no debate about it. No debate about it. But let me ask you this. All right, let me ask you this. Okay. All right? And I'm going to wait because Doc, I think, is coming on any minute now. But I want you to, a little food for thought here. And there are different arteries off of this main vein, as I like to say, right? Let's start with the financial part of it, which we know the Reds are very close to the vest when it comes to spending money on this team, okay? So if you brought up a bunch of young guys that have really good stuff, you're not quite sure if they're ready for the big leagues or not, but let's just say that you decided, I'm not going to watch 32-year-old, 33-year-old, 34-year-old guys in my bullpen. In some cases, never got to the big leagues until last year at 32 or 33. The Laws and the Cruzes and these guys. I'm not going to watch this stuff. I'm not watching it. I'm bringing up a bunch of young guys, sticking them in that bullpen, and if I got to pay them a year early, or if they get knocked around a little bit, mentally, they better be able to take it, or they shouldn't even be in professional sports. Would you do that? If you felt like you had guys down there that had the stuff to come to the big leagues?
Sure, why not? I mean, at this point, when you're looking for something, it can't be any worse, right? I don't think that that's necessarily the worst thing in the world is to go out there and give them. Now, there are flip sides to that, like you said, hurting confidence, whatever it might be, because then do they have to get sent back down? You're wasting options, all those kinds of things. But I don't think that's necessarily the worst thing in the world. Tom, I do have one question. I know this is shifting gears a little bit. I want to ask you one thing before Doc gets on because we don't have to spend too much time on it. But from your experience and just being around the league, why does Tampa, because they seem like a town that would have an appetite for baseball.
Yes.
I know it's the stadium. But is there any other factor why they just never draw anybody?
I have friends down there who are huge baseball fans. And we're talking about older people now who really love baseball. These are retired people. Friend is a retired high school teacher. I've gotten to know very, very well for a family. Lives across the street from us. He still works a little bit in child services for the county down there in St. Pete. Loves baseball. So for him, for those who have not been down there, the Rays Stadium is actually in St. Petersburg, Florida. Have you ever been there?
No, I've not been.
Okay, so you come across, if you've ever been there, you drive down 75, right? And you're going down there, and you can peel off to loop around Tampa to get you if you want to go further south on your way down to wherever you're going, right? Sarasota, Keys, whatever. So you loop around downtown St. Pete, and they have done an incredible job with downtown St. Petersburg. It is a really cool little area, and it used to be a dump about 10 years ago. But they built this ballpark there, and they built it to tell you how old this stadium is. This ballpark was built thinking the San Francisco Giants were going to leave San Francisco and come to Tampa, right? That's why the stadium, they built that stadium without even having a team. So they built it 6 years before the Rays were even a franchise starting in 1998. When they opened playing there, it was already dated, right? Now, down in Florida, you have to have, and it took the Marlins 2 decades to figure this out, you have to have a dome stadium. Now, retractable would be perfect, but this is a completely dome stadium. It's a dump. But, you know, people down there tell me because of the location and the traffic is so bad, going from where a lot of the season ticket holders might be in Tampa to drive down there and to try and get over there that particular time of day, it's just really hard and all these kinds of things. And then they'll use the stadium. Look, once you get in the stadium and you sit down, right, you're watching Major League Baseball. And it's not a terrible place to watch a game. It doesn't have all the amenities that the new places have. There's no doubt. But, I mean, I went back and looked at their attendance figures for the entire life of the franchise before our show today to make sure I had the numbers right. It's just mind-boggling. And there are a lot of people that live down there. Tampa is a huge city, right? Bleeds right into St. Pete. I mean, hell, they're almost bleeding into Sarasota now. It's a huge area with huge baseball fans. I mean, high school baseball, college baseball. They love baseball in Florida. I don't know why they don't draw. And you're not seeing, you're seeing a great product. They've only been to the World Series one time. They got beat. Or two times. They got beat. But, man, 4 years in a row they've been to the playoffs. I mean, think of the Reds, okay? And they're not drawing anybody anyway. Somebody brought up in the chat they're averaging 23,000 a game. The only reason they're averaging 23,000 a game is because they sold 45,000 tickets in the first game. You take that out, they're under 20. But can you imagine if the Reds had a game where they were playing at Great American Ballpark with a chance to clinch a divisional title? There is zero chance there would be 17,000 people there. They may not sell it out, but they're going to have 28, 30, 31, 32, 34,000, right?
I think they would. I think Great American at this point, if they were competing for a postseason spot,
they would be
well, you know what? You say that, and I'm not going to buy it for a second, and here's why. Because in 2010, everybody and his brother tells you they were there when Jay Bruce hit the home run, right, to clinch the National League Central Division.
Yeah.
It was the first time the Reds had been to the playoffs since 1995. They had the one divisional, or the one-game playoff against the Mets in 99. But 2010 was the first time they played a game to clinch a playoff spot since 1995. Not even close to sold out. So, I've said 1,000 times before, Cincinnati is not the baseball town everybody around here thinks it is. It's not. They've never drawn 3 million fans in a season. And they had a 58,000-seat stadium for arguably the greatest team that has ever been assembled in baseball history. And they never drew more than 2.5 million. So to say they, but anyway, we're back to the point now. Okay, I'm getting off track. But the Reds would draw a big crowd for that game.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
They draw more than 17,000.
Well, they draw more than 27,000.
Oh, no doubt.
I think that they would be in the low 30s.
Probably.
And maybe if it's a Friday or Saturday night, maybe they sell it out. If it's a Tuesday night, Wednesday night during the work week in September, probably not. But Friday night, Saturday night, Cardinals are in town, somebody like that, Cubs, you got a chance to clinch, maybe they sell out. But the point being is that gives you an idea of that whole Tampa Bay thing. I mean, and I said it before and I say it again. I love Tampa, Florida. I love going there. Love it down there. I mean, I was going down there as a little kid when the Red Spring Training was there in Tampa, and they played at Al Lopez Field. First time I ever saw a Reds game is when my dad got the job in '74. We're living in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and we go down to Tampa, Florida for his first spring training. So the first Major League Baseball, well, I saw another Major League Baseball game as a kid, but the first Reds game I ever saw was in Tampa. And we go there every year for spring break. Love Tampa. But, man, how they have a team. Them in Oakland. And it's a shame. For that matter, I got to tell you, Miami should not have a team. They're in the same boat. I mean, they're averaging 13, 10, 9,000 fans a game.
So where would you put these teams?
Well, you got to go Vegas number one. Without a doubt.
You got to put a dome out there.
Well, no question. Yeah. Build a retractable dome in Vegas. Right? Baseball fought that whole thing, and now they've watched every other sport go into Las Vegas, and per usual, Major League Baseball is last to the dance. because they were worried about the gambling. But now they're all in bed with the gambling. So Vegas is one. Now, where you go after that, I'm not sure where you would go. What do you think? Some people say Charlotte. I don't know about that. I don't know about Charlotte.
Yeah, people have talked about Charlotte. People have talked about Nashville. People have talked about putting
the Reds would fight that tooth and nail, by the way. So would the Braves.
A Nashville team, yeah. People have talked about putting a team back in Montreal.
That is where I would consider going.
Putting a team back in Montreal?
Yeah. Yep. What about Mexico City?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say.
Do you think they do that?
I think that you could pull that off easily. Easily do that. You can't put look, unless they dramatically change something, you're not going to put an NFL team in Europe. The travel is just too brutal. I know they talk
unless they
about,
create a whole division.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, unless you do something really radical out there. But to stick a single team over somewhere in Germany or London or wherever it might be, you're going to need to do more than that. But look, Mexico City. I mean, look, from Cincinnati, you're getting to Mexico City faster than you are to San Diego or San Francisco.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think you got to consider that.
Is Louisiana too close to the Astros?
Louisiana would not work. They wouldn't put a team in New Orleans. I don't know.
I was just thinking of like what other like professional sporting teams there are that are very big in other towns like.
Yeah, I mean they're not putting a team in Memphis. They're not putting a team in. And Charlotte does kind of intrigue me, but how close that is to the Braves. Yeah. You get a little bit of the Nationals down there too might fight that because I know Masson's coverage gets down into the Carolinas. I'm looking at the map right now. I don't know. I wouldn't. Nashville, Vegas, and Montreal are the first three to come to mind if you talk about moving cities.
I think baseball would give long. I think it would come down to Mexico City and Montreal for a second one behind Vegas, if you were going to do it. Maybe all three. Although Miami's not going to go anywhere. They have a brand new ballpark, ton of money down there. They're not going to do it. But Tampa Bay. Now some would argue, and I'm not down there. I don't know. I've heard many people make the argument that if you were to move the stadium and put it in Tampa, right? Retractable dome, all the amenities, brand new place, you'd see a different result. They made that same argument in Miami because they were playing at old Joe Robbie Stadium, right? Now Hard Rock Stadium where the Dolphins play. That did not have a retractable dome. They fought the battle of the afternoon rain. People didn't want to come down there because, you couldn't go to batting practice. If you wanted to bring your kid to sit there and watch BP, you couldn't do it because half the time they didn't have BP because of the afternoon rains they get down there. And everybody said you build a brand new stadium in downtown Miami instead of up in Lauderdale or in between Lauderdale and Miami where Joe Robbie is. You're going to draw fans. Nope. Crummy product. Ownership spends no money. Derek Jeter went in there. He found out what it's really like. And they have got it is a really nice place to watch a game. It's a cool place to watch a game, that stadium in Miami. It's just cool. It's kind of hip, funky little area right on the edge of a little bit of edge to it. And, but nobody's going to those games. And they said, build the stadium. They will come. They've not come. Now, you could say it's because, they got a crummy product. I don't know.
Mouse Cop makes I know he's messing around. He says, I don't think Austin would work, too hippie. They don't value pastimes like us true Americans do. I know he's messing around saying that, but I don't think Austin would work either. It's been growing. It's growing at a pretty rapid pace, but you're so close to Houston. You're so close to Dallas to then complete that triangle of putting another team in there. I just don't know if Texas – because – that's the other thing is you'd be putting three teams in Texas that are all close together. It's not like spreading a team out west more. I just don't think that putting a team in Austin would work too much. Virginia Beach has a AAA team right now. Obviously, you are intimately familiar with that team, Tom, down there in Virginia Beach.
Yep.
But yeah, I think the first three cities you're probably looking at are Nashville, which I don't necessarily think would happen, but it could happen.
Could happen.
But Vegas, Montreal, Nashville, those three.
I tell you what's amazing. I don't know if you guys saw the thing that came out in the Sports Business Journal yesterday about the attendance in the NBA.
Yeah, isn't it record-breaking?
I'll tell you, man, and I don't follow the NBA all that closely, but they went through every single team's attendance, and attendance is way up overall. Set an all-time record in the history of the NBA. But in one of the columns where they had average per game, they had percentage of capacity. And I'm going to tell you what, man, it is unbelievable. Every team in the league, with an exception here or there, was up in the 90%, and multiple teams were at 100% capacity for the season.
It's incredible, especially with all the players that sit out some games. I know they're trying to change that rule or like make it so then they can't win awards and whatnot. But like, there's a lot of teams that will sit their best players just to give them rest time, and man, that really is incredible. I did see that article though. I didn't read it, but
yeah, I got to go back and see if I can find it because I just couldn't believe how well those numbers are. I'm going to see if I can find this thing because I eventually deleted it, but I had read it all this morning. Did you guys find it?
No, I don't have that graphic. I think it's – go ahead.
I'm going to pull up the play-in tournament, that graphic from that we've been meaning to put up for people.
Okay.
So this is the
postseason graphic.
Postseason graphic.
Which begins tonight, by the way. Okay, so here's a deal. All right, let's just look at the left-hand side because it applies the same to the right-hand side, okay? The game down at the bottom pits the 7 and 8 seeds. 8 teams total will make the playoffs. But to add some intrigue and give everybody a chance for their team to get in the play-in game, they created this, and it's actually pretty cool, I think.
I agree.
So the winner of that Lakers-Minnesota game, the winner, is automatically in the playoffs, and in this case would play the number 2 seed Memphis Grizzlies. They'll go in as a 7 seed. The loser of that game, so let's just say the Lakers win, okay? Lakers are in. Minnesota would still have a chance to get in the playoffs because Minnesota would then play the winner of the game up above it on the screen there between New Orleans and Oklahoma City, the 9 and 10 seeds. So Lakers in, let's say if they win, Minnesota would play winner of New Orleans v. Oklahoma City and then be the 8th seed to take on number 1 Denver. I think it's a pretty cool way they got it set up there.
Yeah. Add some intrigue.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I didn't know much about it. I just now started doing my homework on it, and I really like it. I think it's an interesting spin on the playoffs. At first, when I heard of play-in games, I thought it was more just like, more or less, we're just going to add more teams to the NBA playoffs. But it's not really that necessarily.
Right.
They have to win. You got to win 2 games at least, right, if you're the 9th and 10th seed. So those teams that, are right on that borderline would then have either a winning record or at least break even, right? And that makes sense for them to be the 8th seed. So I like it. I like it a lot. Out of those two,
let's pull up the Betfred really quick while you're talking. We got lines from Betfred on these games tonight.
We do.
All right.
Yep,
Let's tell us what they are, and let's have a little fun. Let's each pitch these games.
Actually, they're scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now.
All right, there we go.
The Hawks are playing the Heat. Heat are 4.5-point favorites over the Hawks tonight.
Game is in Miami.
Yep, that's and the total 220, 228. I always have trouble reading this font if it's 220 or 228. And then the T-Wolves and the Lakers. Lakers are pretty substantial favorites in that one, 8.5. Totals at 233. Cavs are plus 3,000. I think you'll see it here in a second. Scrolling across the bottom, I think the Cavs are plus 3,000. Might be 3,500 to win the title. We'll see 3,000 to win the title. So that came down a little bit from 3,500.
Okay, where are you picking here? If you had to pick those two games, what would you do? Well, we're going to pick those two games, and let's see how we fare here tonight.
Yeah.
We got two more tomorrow night.
So I'm going to go let me make sure nothing has updated in the last hour since we've done that. Okay. So I'm going to take the Heat at 4.5, and then I'm going to take the Timberwolves at plus 8.5. So the Heat minus 4.5, and I'm going to take the Timberwolves at plus 8.5.
Okay.
In that game tonight.
Casey?
I think for me, I'm also going to take the Heat. I love what they're doing with what they did. They made that trade earlier in the season. I can't remember the guy's name, but I remember liking it a lot. It's been a while. And then I'm gonna take the Lakers because Minnesota's just been on the downtrend, man. Ever since they lost their best player, it's not been great for them. So I'm gonna take the Lakers on those two games tonight. Heat and Lakers, the two favorites.
I'm with you. I'm taking both home favorites.
Okay.
Lakers look like they're getting their legs underneath them a little bit here.
Yeah,
They're
and it's
playing
really
very well. D'Angelo Russell, former Buckeye.
yeah,
Got it going on.
That was a great trade. It really was to get D'Angelo Russell, and ever since LeBron was sitting out, it just seemed like they started to figure out how to win without him. And now that LeBron's coming back, I don't know. Look out. Look out.
You know, it brings us to the question which is being asked in the chat, and no one has championed this more than Andy Furman, who used to be on the radio, WLW regularly. Yeah. He was my first boss, in fact, out of college at Channel 5. He was a sports director when I started there out of OU. Love the guy. Love the guy. I know he's a little outrageous and gets out, but he is a beautiful man. And, he's from New York. And he has been, for years and years, he fought the battle of trying to get an NBA team here to Cincinnati. Now he's moved on with a group very active to try to get an NBA team in Louisville. When I brought up about the capacity of NBA games, and look, there are markets that are the, equivalent of where Cincinnati is, okay? You look at the Milwaukees, what other cities come to mind? New Orleans, places like that, roughly our size, market size, that are, putting a lot of fans in the stands. But the NBA is a very expensive ticket, right? It's expensive to go to an NBA game. It's not like going to a baseball game.
Yeah.
Right? It's more like a football game, if not more.
Depending on where you sit.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's not a cheap ticket.
It is pretty dependent on the team, the matchup. Like if the Knicks are in town or the Lakers are in town, if you're going to see a Pacers game against the Knicks or the Lakers, that's going to be a whole lot more expensive than if the Thunder are in town. But that goes the same for any sport. If the Yankees or the Red Sox are at Great American Ballpark, that's going to be a little more expensive than something else. But, I see what you're trying to say there, though, Tom. Yes.
I'm just asking you, do you think, and look, it all starts with the arena because it's all a waste of breath to even have this conversation if you don't do something. And Jeff Birding is fighting that fight down there. I'm not involved with Hamilton County. I know I hear the budget numbers on the radio or television, City of Cincinnati, whatever it might be. But it just blows my mind that they have done nothing with that arena down there since the 1970s when it opened. Yeah. I just can't believe we live in the city we live in. And I've lived in multiple cities during the course of my life. I've not loved living anywhere more than here. I love this city. but it is embarrassing that we don't have what Kansas City has. We don't have what Boise, Idaho has. We don't have what Des Moines, Iowa has. For that albatross down there and what it could be. Well, I'm not getting into politics here, but we would have been the city to have the Republican National Convention 2 years ago.
And the NCAA tournament.
Right, and we lose out to Cleveland. I mean, you compare downtown Cleveland to downtown Cincinnati? Night and day.
Yeah.
Night and day. But, we're losing out because we don't have an arena. And, I mean, man, when you look at those plans they have they're unbelievable, right?
A lot of the funding would probably have to be private funding given the now Paycor Stadium deal. I think a lot of the Hamilton County residents are a little frustrated with what they were hamstrung with because of that deal. So I think a lot of the funding for that would have to be private. But if you know me or if you followed me on Twitter, there is no bigger advocate for a downtown arena and a new one or a completely renovated U.S. Bank. You'd probably have to build a new one or a completely renovated one. But there are so many benefits to it for this city. The problem is I don't know if you would find a way without a regular tenant because even the Cyclones maybe being a regular tenant.
Right.
But when I was out in Kansas City, I was asking people about this a few weeks ago when I was out there for the NCAA tournament because there's no regular tenant at T-Mobile. Is it T-Mobile Center or T-Mobile Arena? Well, the other one's in Vegas. The T-Mobile, I think it's the Center in Kansas City. Kansas City, it was the first time I'd been there. Kansas City has nothing on Cincinnati except that arena. Very comparable cities.
No question.
Yeah. Very comparable
Both
cities.
nice towns.
Both, yeah.
Kansas City is a really cool town.
Yeah, I was walking around Kansas City in downtown. The hotel was right across from the arena, so you were able to walk around, go to Kansas City Live, do all that. And I was walking around, going to the bars, and seeing some of that stuff and just seeing the sights. And it was eye-opening to me looking at what Kansas City has and thinking what Cincinnati could be simply with the addition of an arena for, like you said, Tom, not just sporting events, concerts, whatever else, conventions. I know they have the convention center. I get that. But whatever it could be that you could put in that arena would be a massive deal for this city. Now, the problem is without a regular tenant, you might not profit straight off of the arena. It might be having to convince somebody that the city would financially profit off of it, say from people traveling in, hotels. The GDP of Cincinnati would increase because of the arena. But maybe you don't necessarily profit a ton out of just having the arena without having an NHL team, which I think would actually do pretty well in Cincinnati. I think people would get behind an NHL team. In fact, I would be a bigger proponent of bringing an NHL team here than an NBA team.
Okay.
I do not think an NBA team would survive all that well in Cincinnati. Everybody in the chat will disagree with me. I just don't think I think an NHL team would do better in Cincinnati than an NBA team would. That's just my personal opinion, and I'm alone on that. I'll
I don't think that you're alone on that at all. I think there's a perfectly logical argument, especially when you take into account this is a good basketball town. I mean, when Cincinnati and Xavier are both good, they'll sell out every game.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think it would take a lot given now that Cincinnati's in the Big 12. You look at Xavier and what they're building. I know an NBA team would bring a lot of attention, and obviously, depending on how good they got, if they were to get star power or whatever, that people gravitate to professional franchises. But I think you toss in having a high major professional franchise, because technically, the Cyclones are professional, but having that high major professional franchise in an NHL team, I think they'd do well, especially if they were the tenant downtown. But the other thing too is you put an arena downtown and you're able to host, an NCAA tournament event. But say Cincinnati or Xavier, I don't know what the size of this arena would be.
Well, you'd have to make it probably in the neighborhood if you were thinking about being. an NHL or NBA,
25 probably.
No. You can get away with 18 to 22, somewhere in that range.
Okay, so we'll call it 20.
Call it 20.
Say you're getting a 20,000 seat arena. I mean, that's twice the size of both Fifth Third and Cintas. Now the problem is that what Cincinnati did was, instead of creating one big state-of-the-art arena, they now have 3 medium-sized arenas in Cintas, Fifth Third, and then over across the river now it's Truist Arena. I don't think that, because you're either going to renovate Heritage Bank,
right,
which would take a while, and it would take
a long while.
It would take a long time to renovate that. You'd basically be starting from the ground up. You would basically have to start that from the ground up. Or you're building a new one, and you're building that maybe over by where the convention center is and some of that new development where they're coming out with all those new plans for the city's redevelopment over there by 75. And some of that green space and everything that they're in the hotels that they're building, that whole master plan that they have over there on that side of the city. The problem is there you're removed from the stadium district, being down by Paycor, Great American, and having the arena and all of that right down there and all that attention down by the banks. It sets up too well that maybe, yes, you sacrifice a year of whatever it might be at Heritage Bank, concerts, the Cyclones, whatever they have to play somewhere else, whoever else it might be, whatever other team you might have. But I just think the value that it would bring to the city, I know people have fought against it because they don't think it would bring enough value without having a regular tenant, and I'd have to do a deeper dive into the numbers on it. But I've spent a long time on Twitter going in, looking at the renderings and seeing what this could be, and it just feels like it could be such a special place for Cincinnati having that down there.
I was looking at the because somebody brought up in the chat it'd be nice to have an NHL team at the arrival of Columbus. I think it would really hurt Columbus, and the Blue Jackets would fight that tooth and nail, no doubt about it. But I tell you what, you look at these Columbus Blue Jackets numbers, they're pretty good.
Yeah,
they're right in the middle of the pack for the league. But I mean, they have averaged almost 17,000 fans a game each of the last 5 years. They're up at 16-9, 16-8, 16-7. They've averaged over 14,000 fans every year since 2011. They had it when they first started. They were getting 19, came
Columbus.
down. Yeah, when they first opened the arena. And that's a great arena. Yeah. You come down, they got in the 14,000s, but now all of a sudden they're starting to, they've had some good teams. They're starting to ramp back up again. I mean, that's pretty impressive to be at 17,000 because hockey plays, 82 games?
NBA plays, I think hockey used to play 82. I don't know if they all.
All right, so you got 40 plus dates a year.
Yes, around 40.
That's a lot of people, man. Yeah. And that's a lot of money.
Yeah, 82.
The only thing I would say to add on to this conversation is if they were able to, one, build TQL, to have a team like FC Cincinnati come in, and I know they started in much lower leagues and built their way up, but if they were able to do that and they have crowds that are getting sold out right now, I mean, I think you could easily have an NBA team here.
Oh,
it is much popular in Cincinnati than soccer is, and I think you would also you might even be able to get away with an NHL team. I think you would have a very similar, as long as the way it has to work, right, and the way that all sports work, as if they have a good team or not. They have a good product in front of you, but we can't really predict that, and the only way that you can otherwise get a team is by building a great arena, having the amenities there. Got to have other reasons to go other than to watch a losing team. So if Cincinnati truly wants one of those things to happen, I think what something has to happen. That's like the chicken before the egg sort of situation.
That's right.
So
but the problem is, I mean,
they're in the ultimate situation. They're the chicken or the egg thing. You dump the money into the arena, and then you don't get a team. Are you going to get promised a team unless you dump the money into the arena, right?
Right.
But I think there's still so much. Don't you think, Tom, that there's so much value to having an arena like that?
No doubt about
downtown?
it. We're missing out on all the concerts.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, Taylor Swift is coming into town for 2 days this summer at Paycor. There are only certain acts that can go to Paul Brown. Garth Brooks can go down to Paul Brown. The Rolling Stones could go down there even now, right? Taylor Swift. I don't know how many others are going to sell out 65, 70,000, whatever it is. But we're missing all the concerts that come through in the winter, come through in the fall, where you're not doing the Riverbend thing. We're missing all that stuff. Columbus is getting them all. Indy gets them all. Nashville gets them all. Louisville gets them all. We don't get them. So you start there. Concerts alone. Basketball tournaments. Political conventions. All those things. Right? And we're not getting them.
Is it possible, like you were saying it had to be private funded, is it possible to have like a committee instead that like, because there's people like a committee that owns teams, right? What if they had a committee that owns that arena and they had I don't know.
Well, I mean, some of it, yeah. I mean, it would be a joint venture, public and private funding. It would just depend on the split of the two, given how much Cincinnati is already paying. I mean, it was crazy when I was going down, and everybody that lives in Hamilton County knows this, but it just had never hit me until I was doing it when I was going in a couple of months ago when I thought I was going to buy a car, and they quoted me on a car, and the guy asked me, do you live in Hamilton County or Butler County? Because the dealership was right on the edge of the two, and I said, oh, I live in Hamilton County, and he said, oh, well, it's going to cost you this, not that. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, that's your Bengals tax. I said, oh, well,
Yep.
that checks out. That
Yep.
makes sense. All right. So, yeah, I just think I think having an arena, I understand the hesitation to it. I do. I've spent enough time reading about it. I understand the hesitation to it given the arenas that are already there. I would probably push back a little bit on the concerts, Tom, because I think Cincinnati does get the concerts. It's a problem that they're not – the acoustics are not good at Heritage Bank. Heritage Bank is not a good place to go to a concert, but we do get a lot of the big acts to go to
We get
Riverbend.
some, but we don't get all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Columbus gets all of them. Indianapolis gets all of them. Louisville gets all of them. And somebody made the thing in here about, pointing out, it's a very good point, what I just said about, said it's the concert thing is a little bit more than just the arena. Columbus, Indy, Louisville are better hubs for such tours. I don't know what the hell that means. I mean, it's a better venue, and that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
As far as a better town, and I don't know if these guys really, at the end of the day, I mean, hell, the old Jackson Brown song, where it's like you don't even know what town you're in half the time with these guys. When you're going night after night after night, they're not going out and over the Rhine.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not. And I mean, so at the end of the day, I don't know if being in downtown L.A., that might be a stretch, but I don't know if being in downtown Columbus or Cincinnati or Louisville or Indy, is any better than the next one at the end of the day. These guys are rolling in late after a show the night before, probably sleep until noon, right? They get up, they go over and do a sound check, they come back to the hotel, and then off they go. They're all revved up, ready to roll.
Where do you think?
Ready to roll. A-game.
What hotel is nice enough for Taylor Swift to spend the night in betwing her two concerts?
Oh, there are plenty of places down there. Really nice.
The Westin?
Really? No.
Penthouse of the Westin?
No. She's going to end up staying
Netherlands?
If I were her, I would go to that brand new joint right down there by the Taft Museum down there, or whatever that is down there, the old Taft ground down there, right downtown. I mean, almost
21C?
Right next to, has the rooftop bar, the brick building they just redid.
Over on the other side.
Barrett owned that.
Yeah.
Right
Lytle?
there. Look, you can walk to the arena.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, man. I mean, A lot of the Major League Baseball teams stay there now. Cubs, bunch of other ones, they stay there now.
AC on the AC?
No. So if you were to go, somebody help me here in the chat. I'm drawing a blank. I've been to the bar, but I can't remember the name of the place.
That's
yeah, but no, in Lytle Park.
That's what I said. Yeah, I said Lytle.
Oh, I didn't hear you say
sorry.
it.
Yeah.
All right.
Lytle
Okay.
Park.
Yeah. And so, I mean, no doubt. But there are some other great joints down there. That new Renaissance is really nice. Somebody says she's single now.
She is. Yeah.
Was she ever not single?
Yeah,
she ever been married?
No, she was dating that English actor for the last 6 years. They just broke up. Your thoughts, Tom, if any?
Breaking.
Well, I just don't want her to try to get in touch with me while she's here.
What about Luke?
Happily married man. Luke, believe me, sign him up. He's 18, ready to roll. Taylor Swift, Luke Brennaman, bring it on. I'm all in.
Newfound Hoosier.
Yeah, for sure, Luke. Although she might be about a foot taller than him. I tell you, I saw her years ago in Columbus. Naturally, I had to drive up there to see her. That was during the winter. Okay? So when the acts go, what I'm talking about on us missing the acts are the acts that are going out starting mid-fall through the spring. So like a couple years ago, George Strait goes out. This is a big country town, right? He doesn't come here.
Yeah.
Got to drive up to Columbus to see him, or drive down to Louisville to see him, or drive to Indy to see him. Those are the acts. So Taylor Swift was playing a number of years ago now when our daughter was very young. And we went up there and saw her in Columbus, and I got to tell you, she's unbelievable. She is absolutely unbelievable. Great entertainer, good, clean, all-American fun. Her show is spectacular. The sound is amazing. She is on her game. So I give it up to her.
I remember back in like 2009, maybe 2010, she was probably 2 years into her career, and she was just starting to break through. And I think she did a sponsorship with T-Mobile, and they said if you text in a certain number of times, she'll go play a concert at your high school. And she came to a high school. It was right down the road from her,
really?
and it was a big deal. Yeah,
I would think it is a big deal.
Even back then, it was a big deal. And I just remember that was the first time I had ever heard of her. And she was coming to play an event. It was just in the high school gym at a high school, I don't know, probably 5-10 minutes from me. And now to think back to that now, to where she was, to where she is now, selling out every single. She could sell out any stadium in the world now.
Oh, well, yeah, no doubt.
You ever seen the pictures?
In hours. You were the guy that dropped the ball on those tickets. Where does that all stand?
We're good. I got them.
Yeah, but you initially dropped the ball.
Oh, I dropped the ball big time.
For those who don't remember,
yeah,
you know, for your girlfriend, you were supposed to get on it. And you dropped the ball.
I thought it was spam. I didn't think I was lucky enough. I didn't think I was high enough up the food chain. But I thought it was spam, and I got on it. Yeah, we're all set. I corrected the issue. We're all set. We're all good. So we're going to the first night, not the second night. I don't know if they're both going to be the same concert. I hope they are. Because Garth Brooks did that last year. He added a second night.
Yeah.
He added the first night, and the first night was way different than the second night.
No doubt.
We were at the second night. We had the tickets to the original, and that was unbelievable. That was the best concert I've ever been to. That Garth Brooks concert last year at Paul.
Yeah,
Brown,
he's fantastic.
Paycor.
He
oh
is
my
a great
God,
show.
Tom,
Another guy,
awesome.
if you have a chance, you know, there's some of them on, you know, if there's a bucket list for concerts, and I don't care if you're a huge country you know, whatever, right? There are just certain guys out there. Jolly back on the program with us today, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, he must have been out there. I think he was campaigning in different states with Gavin Newsom. Going down to Florida and tell everybody how bad it sucks down there. Anyway, look, there's certain. It's no different than like you going to the Masters. Okay, there's certain acts you have to see if you're able to afford it and you can go do it. Okay, and I know a lot of people can't. Hell, I'm on the border of can't. But, you know, look, Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
Right? Rolling Stones go back on tour. I saw Bruce Springsteen 3 times in 1 week. I was a younger man then. But, look, there are certain people that just lay it on the line, man, and they give you everything they got, every show. There's certain guys that don't. I went to see Kenny Chesney last summer, and I mean,
he was bad.
It was not good. It was not good.
I was there
and I
too.
mean, look, that's what these guys are paid to do. They're like pro athletes. Bring your A game every night. I mean, we get on their ass in football if Tom Brady stinks it up, right? Bring your A game. And I mean, he didn't bring it. Springsteen, he might be 70. And I can promise you he's bringing it. And I mean bringing it for 3 hours. Taylor Swift, bringing it. Garth Brooks,
bringing it.
Bringing it. Right?
Oh, yeah.
George Strait, that guy might be 90. Bringing it. Different kind of show than the rest of them. But I mean, the Rolling Stones, hell, half those guys are dead. Or at least should be dead. Keith Richards.
The Who was at TQL last year.
Yeah, now I did not hear much about that show. I mean, they had all the old boys back together. They had Daltrey and Townsend and all those guys, right? They were all back together. But I've seen the Stones a couple times. I mean, that's the best concert I've ever seen because they just hire the best musicians from all over the world to go on tour with them. And, I mean, whether the guy's blowing a saxophone or the trumpet or the keyboard or whatever they got going on, and then Mick runs a whole operation, it's just insane how good they are, even now. So, there's certain ones you got to see. But you're right about Garth. Jolly says, I have a hard time believing Paul Brown Stadium is a good place to have good acoustics for a concert. I thought they were great.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We bought decent seats. I wasn't all the way up to the top. We are all the way at the top for the Taylor Swift concert, though, so I may have a different opinion on June 30th.
This is a great point by Everett, I have to say it. Bruce Springsteen, and this is true, says the guy that acts like the voice of the middle class or the lower class of America, but sells $600 tickets and $12 bills, $12 beers. Well, a lot of them sell $12 beers, and they have nothing to do with that. They have nothing to do with that. All right. We've covered a lot of stuff here today. I'm starting to get some people get back to me here, some of the football people. Paul Doherty, I'll leave out his colorful language. He sent me a text that said he was in the middle of writing the morning line. Said next time he will, he's really upset with himself. And it's okay. People make mistakes. He said, so sorry. Got caught up in writing. I'll set a timer from now on. So his apologies.
That's okay.
That's fine.
That's
fair.
We
That's
had a
fair.
good conversation
own up.
here.
Make a mistake, make a mistake. We got lots of people who are getting back to us about football. We're hoping to cover every team in the NFL by the time we get to the draft, which, if I'm not mistaken, Casey, is 2 weeks from the day after tomorrow.
Let me
27th.
Look. 27th?
I think is right.
Yep, so Thursday. 2 weeks on Thursday.
Honey Water.
Honey Water is big league, buddy.
Hey, everybody like the show. Subscribe to the show. Also, go to the podcast page. All of our podcasts are on there. You can just go to any podcast platform, search Chatterbox Sports, download this show, leave a rating and a review for all these shows. And I think that's everything else. I think that's everything we've covered. So
I'm going to have Not Too Picky on right after this.
Yeah, we haven't done Not Too Picky in like a month because of the way our schedules have lined up with this and with everything, with March Madness. And,
so when are you getting back at it?
In about 8 minutes.
Okay. So you're following the show today.
I am.
Are you going to be on regularly?
Tuesday and Thursday, as long as we don't have a...
Right after this show.
Right after the show.
Tuesdays, Thursdays, 12p.
12p.
12p Eastern time.
Yep.
All right.
And then,
do we have anything else you guys would like to cover here in the final handful of minutes of this program? We've gotten into a lot of stuff today. We really didn't dive into the Reds much. We'll have to do that tomorrow.
I was going to say.
We'll do that tomorrow. Yeah. We're not going to have a big interview tomorrow. We're just going to I'll see if Doc wants to end up joining us, and we will get into some other topics here, including football and the Reds. Casey?
Other than the NBA playing games today, does anyone have any thoughts on a championship? Who are the – I don't know if you know much about the top teams in the NBA right now. But
Hold on, let me look at the future because I want to make sure I say the odds right before I give them out.
One of the messages in the chat, which was I gotta find it because I want to give credit to who wrote it because it was great. When we were talking about getting an NBA team or an NHL team here, I'm not going to be able to find it. Oh, here it is. Abraham says I would take a Major League Baseball team before an NBA team. It's a pretty good line.
Abraham's become a regular on the
Yeah,
chat.
Abraham, thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's a good line.
Warriors plus 750. Not bad. A little spicy there. Warriors plus 750. I mean, there's really not – the Celtics and the Bucks are just so good. Maybe you go with the Suns because Celtics and the Bucks, somebody's going to have to come out of the West. Maybe go sprinkle a little bit on – but the Suns are just plus 450.
All right, I'll tell you what let's do. Let's all do a little homework tonight.
okay.
All right? On each of these series. And since we don't have a big interview tomorrow, let's walk through some of these series.
Okay.
Okay?
We'll do
I
our
tell you what
homework.
let's do. Put the graphic up real quick. Somebody get a pen and paper over there, please.
We got it.
We're going to assign series to the three of us. So you don't have to read about every one of them. All right? I can give a scouting report. If you guys want to read about all of them, read all. I'm going to read about all of them. Or do you want to just read about all of them? Or do you want to give assignments for each of these series?
Let's pick a series. Because maybe one of these teams goes, makes a deep run in the postseason. And we can
Tell you what let's do. Let's pick the 4 series in the West. Okay? To talk about tomorrow.
All right.
Fair enough?
Okay.
So, whoever you want to put in there that's going to face a top seed Denver, or whoever's going to win the game tonight and is going to face the number 2 seed Memphis, the other two are already determined. That Phoenix Clippers series is a very interesting series. And how about that rivalry series there? I mean, those two teams are separated by what? Hour and a half? Sacramento and Golden State?
Yeah.
That's
a good
we'll
one.
get into the Western Conference playoffs tomorrow. We'll do the Eastern Conference playoffs on Thursday. Brian says, Tom, I can't believe you didn't chastise me over the Springsteen politics comment. Nope, I do my best not to get into. I've not seen Springsteen since he went, off the rails, but his concerts are just, they're unbelievable. They're unbelievable. Okay. Do we have a cherry on top? Or no?
It's Jim Breach's birthday today.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Boy, one of the all-time great guys. Boy, and he had a hell of a career, man.
Yes, he did.
That guy was money. But he is a fantastic guy. He's raised his family. I don't know how many children he has. He has a ton of kids. He's raised them all out there in Anderson. Let me see this real quick. I'm trying to remember how many he had. Been a while since I had seen him. I cannot believe this isn't on here. Wow. It doesn't have it on his
You know who we got to get on the show?
Who?
Zoltan Mesko. He's got to come on the show.
Yeah, we got to get Mesko on the show.
We got to get Mesko on the show, Tom.
Jim Breach, 7 children.
Seven
children.
7
Wow.
children. Yes. Good for him. Zoltan Mesko, I'm all in. Out of the hole to Mesko. Boy, you guys, I mean, it's so tired.
You're the one that said it.
It is so tired. Yeah, I said it because it was setting up the biggest upset in college football, so we had to know the names. I didn't know that some 25, whatever the hell it is, years later, 20 years, 15 years, I don't know, that I'd be listening to Out of the Hole to Mesko.
About every other show.
What's that?
Just about every other day.
Because we can't use some of them, right? Because of copyright stuff.
Yeah. Like the
Because, man, there's, and I'm not saying it because it's me. There's some good ones from the NFL, man.
Yeah.
Brady slinging it around.
We got to try some of the more of the NFL ones because I think one of them that we used was copyrighted, but we haven't tried all of them yet. We've had other bigger fish to fry, but we're getting to that point where we can start doing some of the little stuff.
Get the
What about Dielson? Dielson!
Jerome Simpson.
It was so funny, that Dielson Herrera home run call. Some might remember. I don't know if you guys do. Right? I mean, they have this guy, Dielson Herrera. And I Dielson. So I get home at night, and my son says to me, he says, good Lord, was that brutal. Absolutely brutal. He said, I can't believe that was your home run call for that guy. I said, okay. Everybody has their own opinion. You got yours. Fine. Next day, it's got open gym for high school basketball practice, right? Mm-hmm. So I have to drive him over. He's not driving yet. I walk in the door, and David Caldwell, head coach, comes right over and says, man, love that Dielson call last night. I look at my man, Luke. There you have it, Big Daddy. Broadcasting in a nutshell. That's what it is, right? One person thinks you're good, next person thinks you stink. But that's what makes the world go round, right? Good enough. You hope more people think you're good than think you stink. All right. Dielson! All right. Tomorrow we're ready to go. Casey, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Paul, thank you.
Absolutely, Tom.
All of you, thank you. We had a good crowd in here today. We got into a lot of stuff that we rarely ever get into. So it was fun today. And tomorrow we're going to do the same with the NBA playoffs starting tonight. And we'll walk through the Western Conference playoffs tomorrow. Get a lot into the Reds tomorrow. They play tonight against Atlanta, game 2 of the series, before they come back home after the series finale tomorrow. I think they have an off day. No, they don't. They don't have an off day. They're right back at it Thursday night at Great American Ballpark. So, all right, we will see you all tomorrow. Good Lord willing, have a great rest of your Tuesday from Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. See you then.
There it is.
There
it is. Look at us.
Look at us.
Look at us. We're back for the first time in a month. Casey, can I have my headphones here? Or no? Hold on.
Look at us.
Look
Who
at
would've
us.
thought?
Is that working? Or?
I can hear everybody else besides myself.
Well, why do you even need them?
I don't need them. We are. Yeah.
Who would have thought?
What are we doing? All right. For the first time in a month, welcome in and Not Too Picky, everybody. Between the March Madness schedule and the Miami baseball schedule and everything else, it has been a long time since we have been here in the saddle, but it feels great to be with you. It is a great day today. It is like 70 degrees outside. I want to say, we don't say this a lot. We don't wrap up the show and say this a lot at the end of the show. That was a really good off the bench today.
That was a great off the bench.
That was a very good off the bench today. So everybody that's watching, thanks for watching. This is Not Too Picky, presented by Betfred Sportsbook. It is a gorgeous day outside. We had a great off the bench show. This will be a fun Not Too Picky. I'm playing golf today for the first time.
Where are you playing?
I'm breaking out the sticks.
you
I'm
got
playing at Glenview, 516.
Glenview 516.
516
Good time.
at Glenview.
Good time.
Yeah. Well, I was worried because you always get on these Tuesdays. You always get those leagues. You get the leagues that come out, and then you got to worry about the leagues. Casey, what did you think of off the bench today? Before we get into our picks,
I mean, I thought it was really good. I thought, not that we were off track with what we were going to talk about today, and that wasn't necessarily a bad thing either, though. It was just like naturally that we got to talking about some other stuff because we wanted to talk about other things that maybe weren't as prevalent, but the chat really loved what we talked about today, so I think it was a really good show.
I laughed out loud when you guys were talking about Taylor Swift and you talked about her breaking up, and Paul goes, "Tom's thoughts on T-Swizzle breaking up." That was funny. I got a giggle out of it.
Yeah. So we have all that, and we haven't talked about betting baseball at all. So we're going to talk about a little bit about that. I don't want to start off because yesterday at the end of boxed lunch, you asked for baseball bets. And I gave out a 3-leg parlay. Not only did I give out one loser, not only did I give out two, but the reverse lay slapped hard yesterday.
Yeah, I thought you were making fun. You're like, what about the Mariners? Because they're playing the Cubs. I thought you were just digging at me, but no, you gave out some duds. You gave out you're like, Rays -1.5. They won. Didn't cover.
Okay, no, they did not cover 1.5. So what was funny was you would put baseball bets up on the screen, and we were over there talking about things, and I knew that somebody in my gambling group chat had sent a parlay. I was like, God, I can't find anything I really like, so I'll just put this parlay in there. And yesterday I was really busy last night, and I got to the end of the night, and I was catching up on some of the scores, and then in our chat, one of the guys just sent, "Well, the reverse parlay hit," and I was like, "Well,
get your money back for that."
Oh well, you should. If you have 3 legs or more,
right, and you go
over, you should maybe get half the payout.
Right, yeah. Well, no, I don't think half the pay. What about if you could just return half of your bet? Like, I know that's nothing, but they're just like, you suck so badly.
You should, because it's just as hard to go 0 for 3 on even bet. I'm not like if you. In
theory, it's harder because you're going against your intuition, which should account for something.
Yeah. I don't know.
Can I? What was it? Was it a country out across the pond? Was that who made that 3-leg parlay? Was it?
No, it wasn't.
Oh no.
No, okay. No. He's been out of the game.
He's out of the game?
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, I have a friend in the gambling group chat who may or may not be watching right now, and he is an automatic. When he sends a pick, we bet the other way, and he rolls with it. Like, he has some fun with it.
He knows.
But let's just say he has been retired for now, I think, 3 months because he never learned to fade himself. So, no. His last name is Ireland. And
yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
I haven't bet a whole lot of baseball. I bet opening day. And then had a buddy over a couple of days later. So the next night, played cards, and we bet a couple nerfies that we swung and missed on. But I haven't bet a whole lot of baseball.
No. Oh, so you haven't done the bet every game?
I did that for the first 2 days, and I swear it's just like, it's not that I don't want to. I just like forget. Like, it's just like I gotta put in $1 parlay. On games where there's 15 games, the $1 parlay wins like $3,000. So you could do this in theory for like 6 straight years.
And you just got to hit it once for it to pay off.
In 6 years. You got to think you got to hit it once, right?
In 6 years, you could probably get it once.
Right.
Twice, and you're cruising.
Right, yeah. You doubled your profit.
The goal was for Reed to bet every baseball game this year in a parlay. He was going to parlay every game, every day.
Right. And the thought was, you spend I think there's 180-something days of baseball.
Yep.
And if you hit one, you get your money back.
Yep, basically.
Bet $1 every day,
and
you get your money back.
Yep.
But obviously I didn't do that because I forgot.
All right.
So let me ask you.
Yes.
New infant in the whole baseball gambling
Yes.
thing, and I'd throw out some bets. Paul, as an experienced baseball gambler,
absolutely,
as the Pete Rose of the
that's what they call me.
What do you look for when you bet?
Well, there's a few things. So you can do that, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday on Box Lunch. You can do first half money lines, or as they say, first five. It's not the first half, first five. And basically, what you're doing there is you're betting on a starting pitcher. So if you're betting on the first 5 innings, you might say a run line in the first 5 innings. A run line is it's not the point spread. In baseball, it's the run line. Every spread in baseball is 1.5. It was funny talking to Casey because Casey was putting in some of the lines for the bottom of the scroll, and Casey was going, man, a lot of these spreads are 1.5. That's just standard.
Unless it's really, I've seen 2.5 before, but but that
very rare.
Right.
It happens once in a blue moon. Sometimes a team is at 2.5. It's always 1.5 though. For the 99% of the time, it's at 1.5. The odds are a little different though. So if you're looking right now on the Betfred Sportsbook, the A's are plus 1.5 tonight against the Orioles, but they're minus 130. Orioles minus 1.5 is plus 110. So obviously runs are so valuable in baseball. Totals generally are at 7.5 or 8. You get out to Colorado and they'll be in double digits most of the time. They'll be at like 10, 10.5 or 11.
You get to the back end of rotations, you get some right around 9 or 10.
Yeah, and for like tonight, the Cardinals are playing the Rockies at Coors Field. The total's 12. So you get a little bit different there, but for the most part, it's always, it's always at 1.5. I like doing player props in baseball more than probably any other sport, and in particular, I like doing strikeouts, starting pitcher strikeouts. I really like. I'm not a huge player prop guy. Casey loves him a good player prop.
Yeah.
Not a huge NBA player prop guy, points, rebounds, assists. I think sometimes you just kind of get too bogged down in it. But baseball is an individual enough sport that I really like the player props in baseball. We did total bases on opening day. That was part of the parlay that we put together through the Betfred Sportsbook. But I really like first 5 bets, especially if you like the starting pitcher in their matchup. I like strikeouts from a starting pitcher. I do every once in a while. I've never hit one. A
home run.
But I really love a good home run bet.
A long shot.
Yeah.
I've noticed that when you look at those home run odds, they seem shorter than they should be when you look at them.
Yeah.
But then you start to extrapolate, like say if you're looking at a dude like Kyle Schwarber who hits 40 home runs, he should hit a home run 1 out of every 4 games in theory, right?
Yeah.
160. So you look at his odds and you say, man, it's only like plus 370 for Kyle Schwarber to hit a home run. That doesn't seem long enough. I mean, he only got 4 chances to do it. But then you think about it and you're like, no, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for hits. You'll see, a contact hitter and his over to just get a single hit will be like minus 180.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, they don't get a hit every game. But then you're like, well, they get a hit in the majority of the games, which you just got to – it's new to betting, so you're not used to the lines yet.
Yeah. So if we're looking at the games tonight, I was looking around trying to look at the Rays are minus 1.5 again playing the Red Sox. The Rays money line is minus 185 tonight. Again, it's tough in baseball to take a line that big at minus 185. You can get a lot of these, but like the Blue Jays tonight are minus 290 against the Tigers, and they're at minus 1.5 for the game. So if you see a discrepancy that big between the money line and the run line, maybe just lean to the run line on that one. At minus 135, the Blue Jays playing the Tigers tonight. The total in that game is 9. I love betting totals, too, in baseball. I'm not a huge run line guy. I'm not a huge money line guy because there's so many variables in baseball. You just never know. But I love totals. I really enjoy betting baseball. I'm not very good at it, but I enjoy it a lot.
Right. Listen, you should shorten your unit size betting baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's more of a crapshoot. Because it's baseball. I don't know if you know, but any team can win on any day. And just have fun with it. Like a bet that we haven't even talked about is the Nerfy. No runs first inning or runs in the first inning. Not a profitable bet, but it's a bet that you can tune into for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and watch the first inning, get 6 outs, bet it, win or lose, and get on your merry way. It's just a fun little bet.
I didn't look at the final stat last year, but I think going into the last week of the regular season, the Nerfy and the Yerfy, which is a run to be scored in the first inning, both of them were not profitable If you bet every Nerfy in every game over the course of the season, or if you bet every run to be scored in every first inning of every game, neither one of those were profitable because of paying the juice.
Yep.
So you can't – they're not profitable, but if you're going to a game and you just want to have some fun, you think to yourself, oh, it's the starting pitcher. Are they really going to give up a run in the first inning? It happens a lot more than you think until you start betting it.
Well, it's the only inning where the manager can determine who gets to go to the plate.
Yeah.
So it's the lineups are crafted to score runs more than anything. So the first inning actually generates the most runs throughout the entire ball game. And you pick any inning, the first inning scores the most runs year over year. It's been that way for 60 years.
Yep.
And that's why still it's a fun bet.
Oh, it's a very fun bet. We
fun
all
bet.
do it. It's very fun. I actually tried to get it in on opening day. I did not have good enough signal, and the Reds ended up scoring, so it saved me some money.
It's good.
Yeah. It's up.
So I'm looking at bets, and you mentioned the Rays minus 185. You can get them minus 1.5 on the run line, plus 115. Shane McClanahan's starting against. So I mean, they're 10-0, and they've got their ace on the mound, who's been lights out. They're at home. If you want to ride the hot hand that is the Tampa Bay Rays, go ahead. Maybe take Shane McClanahan.
All right. Let's talk about the NBA a little bit, and I'm not going to talk about individual games because I don't feel comfortable enough with any of these picks to give out individual games. But if you're looking at futures, there's a couple. Warriors at plus 750 to win the title. I don't hate. And I know Jokic has been hurt. Nuggets are plus 900. I don't love that without knowing exactly how healthy he's going to be. But individual series, Betfred has everything in here that you could ask for pretty much in the NBA for the postseason. So there was, out of the East, the Cavaliers are plus 1,500 to come out of the East. It's really been the Bucks and the Celtics this year. One of those two teams, unless something bananas.
Don't like the 76ers? Don't trust them.
We've just been doing the 76ers thing every year.
But have you trusted the process?
I don't know if they have trusted the process. Guardians and Reds, let's go through the boosts here. Guardians and Reds, this is all on Betfred. Both to cover plus 1.5. That's boosted to plus 290 tonight, $25 max. Shane McClanahan, you just talked about him.
Yeah.
Over 5.5 strikeouts. And the Rays to win, $50 max bet, boosted to plus 150. I don't hate that.
Well, yeah, because if you think that he's going to pitch well, the Rays will win. So, I mean, it's just you're basically just getting some help on the money
strikeouts. Yep. And then the Heat and the Lakers to win, it's boosted from minus 120 to even money. Get a $100 max on that. Huh. So some things to look at. Betfred giving you some boosts tonight. Those I like the Heat and Lakers both to win, both just to win. No, you don't have to cover. The Heat are minus 4.5. Lakers minus 8.5. They're both at home. If you're looking at that, again, it's minus 120, minus 118, boosted to even money. So a couple of things to take a look at there.
Yeah, that boost that you just mentioned, the Ohio, the Guardians and the Reds. Guardians play Garrett Cole tonight.
Yeah.
I don't like that one.
Yeah, maybe we lay off.
Sometimes we lay off that one.
Casey, do you have any? I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you have any bets or anything you're looking at or anything you like? If you don't feel like you have to give anything out.
I'm looking at the NBA playing games because, we haven't done a show in a while. I haven't given out any NBA props or any really picks for a while, unless you're looking at the graphics that we put out most of the time. I just really am looking at this Hawks and Heat game. I really like it. I really like the matchup.
Way?
It's at 7:30, so I know I'm going to be able to watch the whole thing, so that's great.
That's great.
Good.
What a budget your time.
The thing I'm looking at the most, Trae Young, assists, over 8.5. That's what I'm looking at right now. Now, let me look at Betfred odds really quickly, just to make sure I don't say the wrong thing here.
This is on Trae Young's over.
So you weren't looking at Betfred?
I was looking at my.
Probably looking at an article.
Yeah, he's probably
I was looking at my articles
looking
here
around.
to make a good judgment call.
Okay.
And I think if I look at this points assists right here, Trae Young.
I'm looking. Oh, do they not offer him? No, I see him.
Yeah, but the odds are minus 233. I like the assists over 8.5, but at 8, I don't know. So
About 10?
that's all.
What
I
about
got
10?
as of
Because
right
that would
now.
only be one more. You would only need one more.
Yeah.
Surely we've never lost anything that close. Why not?
Never. Why not?
One more assist.
Double-digit assists for Trae Young tonight. That's Casey's pick, plus 120.
Yeah, and the Heat.
And the Heat. Parlayed?
Parlay it together.
Okay.
Oh,
Make
so
it
you're
a little
going
spicy.
against the boost.
Oh.
Oh, wait, no. So you think – oh, sorry. You said Heat. I was thinking Hawks. Okay. Can't parlay those on Betfred. Okay.
You can parlay plus it.
Parlay plus.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just didn't go in and do it.
Oh, that's right.
You want
right.
to parlay?
Hit me with it, Reed.
Slide on over.
Ooh.
Slide on over here.
What do we got?
I cooked up a parlay
Oh, boy.
of your 3 favorite baseball teams to
Absolutely.
win tonight.
Oh.
So, can
All
you
right.
name them?
Well, if you're going serious here, and if you're not doing a shtick, we'll do the Reds, Nats, and Orioles.
Of course. You're
Okay.
from
DC.
DC, so the Nationals.
Worked for the Orioles.
No Orioles. Currently, because I
Oh,
knew
no
you're
Orioles?
a DC guy, so
Okay.
I knew there was a little bit of rivalry there.
Yeah,
between
there
the Nats
is.
And the Orioles.
Yeah.
So we went with Nationals.
Okay.
We went Reds because you live here now and your family's
Okay.
from here.
So who's the third team?
Who's your favorite college basketball team?
Xavier.
What is their religion?
Catholic.
What is like the leader of a church called?
Pope.
Or what do you call- what's Spanish for
Oh.
that? What is Spanish for that?
Oh, let's go out west. Let's go
Yeah,
out
so
west. The Padres.
The Paul Fritzner
Wow. We
They're-
stretched on that one, didn't we? The Padres. Plus 120.
Fathers.
All right.
Yeah, there it is. Plus 120, plus 190, all underdogs. Nats money line as well. It's plus 240. It's plus 269. So a long
2069.
2069, my bad. Long shot. Long shot. The Nationals have the honor, I believe, of playing against Tungsten Armo Doyle, who's on the mound tonight.
Yes, they are playing Shohei.
And he is pitching tonight.
Yep.
So have some fun. So that's the Paul Fritzner. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. No doubt. Well, I mean, it's not like the Angels ever lose games like that when Shohei does something
Sure,
great.
Absolutely. You ever think about how ridiculous baseball names are? So I think we were talking about on the show a few days ago about like soccer names and how they're just like the names of the city.
Yeah.
Baseball names are absolutely ludicrous. Like if you pinpoint them, like the Milwaukee Beers, because they sell beer there. The San Diego Fathers,
Oh, yeah.
because there's missionaries there. It's just funny.
Yeah. No, you're right.
All right, wrap up the show.
All right. We're going to get on out of here. I do like that Betfred boost tonight. The even money one, Heat and Lakers to both win. $100 wins you $100. This has been Not Too Picky. I'm going to try. Don't want to speak for him. Try to get Mike Schmaltz back on the show on Thursday.
let's see.
We have not talked to him since
NASCAR.
February.
NASCAR.
It's been a long time. Get some NASCAR. Get some weekend picks in with us. We'll do some more NBA. We'll do some more baseball, all that good stuff. This has been Not Too Picky, presented by Betfred Sportsbook. Great to be back with all of you. Enjoy the nice day. Go out, maybe play some golf. Go out and have a drink outside. Enjoy the day. See you all on Thursday, everybody.